Yeah, let's do it.
You ready to start now?
Oh yeah, let's do it.
Ready?
For real.
Okay. Start now.
Let's do
And
it.
Go.
Go time.
Go
It's
time.
go time.
Let's go. All right, we're live.
Retarded sometimes. I swear.
We are live.
We are live.
We are live. I was told it's not like PC to call people retarded anymore.
It's not?
I don't know. Like, we come from a different generation. From the 80s, I would say 90s. We're kind of, I feel like people in my generation were like a mix of like the Gen or the Xers and between like the Gen Xers and the Millennials, kind of that time frame.
Yep.
So it's kind of a mix of a couple different I
want to say I've seen it as someone's diagnosis.
Maybe back then you
Yeah.
could clinically call someone retarded, but it's like not kosher to say that. I grew up saying stuff like that.
You know what? And I had a fear that I was going to say it on this show at one point. Just
Really?
Because,
like, oh, you're...
Well, just because I say it to you guys as,
Right,
as
it's like-
friends. Haha. But you never think about, oh, wow, someone
don't.
can really get offended.
You
Yeah.
don't. I mean,
sorry.
so what makes it offensive? Is it like the connotation behind it? Is it the fact that it used to mean people with like mental disabilities? I mean, so can you take any word and make any word offensive?
Oh, totally.
Or
I think you can.
Where does it stop? Like if we're friends and we call each other like racial slang, growing up you always heard racial slang, and people would laugh at it, they think it's funny. But when is it no longer funny? When does it leave your group and it's no longer funny and it's offensive to somebody else hearing it? Because it's never the person saying it; it's how it's perceived from somebody else.
Oh, you know what would be a perfect example of that is something that's non-offensive but could be offensive. Oh, well, you're smart.
Oh, Mr. Smarty Pants over here. Jeanette.
It's like, is that good?
I've got tequila today again.
Yes.
Dude, I'm living dangerously. I've been wanting to buy a bottle of this.
I've seen that.
The
and
reposado.
It looks very
tequila, awesome. Corralejo. I feel like this is classic.
Yeah.
Like shit's gonna get crazy.
It looks crazy.
It's a big blue bottle. I don't know what the difference. There's two other bottles, but I've always liked the blue one.
Ooh, let's talk about the booze of choice this evening.
I feel like this is gonna be a good time.
It looks, yeah, totally. You're totally gonna fall off your stool. That's why I'm so happy there's a second one here, so I can hold on.
One day, somebody's gonna be like, "Hey, isn't there anybody that drinks on podcasts? Who can we sponsor?" And it's gonna be like,
Us.
Please. We have no budget.
No budget.
No
Could you
budget.
please help us with our alcohol expenses?
I've offered to pay people with cookies and alcohol.
I've been offering shots. Like, anyone wants to help us with this podcast, we'll
and
pay you in shots.
nobody's biting.
I don't believe it.
Apparently there's federal benefits for being unemployed and getting your own alcohol, I guess. I don't know, because they don't want to join the crew here.
Well, at some point we're gonna have to get a gathering with our friends and bring all of our bottles and say, okay, guys, we've really accrued a lot here. Let's have a party.
BYOB, stay away from mine. I like having my selection.
You're on no.
What are you doing? What do you got there?
Okay, so I got some Stoli Cucumber Vodka because there's different brands of cucumber vodka. The ones that people think about is
that legit smells like cucumbers.
Here,
oh my
it.
God. That smells delicious. I feel like I'm being healthy right now. Oh God.
Is it smooth? Here, let me try that.
Dude, that is amazing.
So I've had the effing one before, and it was okay.
Did you say the effing one?
Yeah, it's not even slang. I'm not even trying to be it's called Effen, EFFEN.
Oh, is it really? Okay.
Yeah, and it's a green bottle.
This is amazing. This is delicious.
Ooh, it smells good.
I can get chocolatey wasted on that.
I've found that Stoli it does make a smoother vodka.
That is good.
Not bad considering its price. Wow. And I paired it with lemonade. It's 0 sugar.
I feel like we're doing a fine wine show.
Right.
And I've paired it with a nice aged cheddar and a nice lemonade.
Well, this is kind of like an aguas frescas, kind of like a.
Is it really? I'm gonna have to drink that.
You want to try it?
Hey, we got to cheers to number 7. Episode 7. Cheers.
Cheers.
Man. Wow. Cheers to everybody out there. We're on number 7. We're getting somewhere in life. Oh God, that's delicious.
Try this.
Oh God,
This is quite literally. It tastes like an aguas frescas. It's really good.
Oh my God, that's freaking delicious.
It's so refreshing.
Oh my God.
So if you're looking for a summer drink,
That's cool. That's good.
A really
that
good
is
one.
really stinking good.
It is and it's
I
perfect for barbecues.
I feel like
bar
if we're not
mitzvahs.
careful,
I keep saying
this is going to turn into like a 6-hour podcast tonight, and we're going to be falling off the chairs and slurring like, it's going to be a bloody mess.
It is.
That's what I think would happen.
Good.
They are good tonight. So that was our first technical difficulty we've ever had. I was afraid that that's going to happen because I have like the Bluetooth mouse, and I must have moved it and something happened, which is good though. We have the screen facing us now as we become a little bit more advanced. So everybody's going to see like a little bit of a glitch where we lost video for a minute.
Well, it's actually pretty funny. We were talking about it being crazy, so the fact that we lost connection for a minute.
I know, right? Like, no.
Oh no! Is this a preview of things to come?
I was like, did we lose like 10 minutes?
10 minutes?
No, yeah. No. We didn't lose that much, but it's being that we're rookies in this and we're just like newbies. Totally. I'm always afraid of that. Like, we're going to do something and it's going to be like, oh no. Like, I think if anybody ever wanted to know like the, like starting podcasts, if it's difficult and whatnot, like I say, this is a long time coming. We were planning it out, and then here we're starting, and it's like, gee, we've only had we've had the light go out on us mysteriously, like poof. Yeah. And now this, where the video feed just cut out for just a second.
The birds aren't even chirping right now.
It's a little bit darker over there. The birds. Okay. I had a talk with the birds.
Because the birds aren't chirping. The dog is breathing in the living room. Oh,
yeah, except the dog's breathing like he's running out of air. He's like 14 years old, though.
Aww.
Yeah, in our years. So he's like older than Dirt in his years. But anyway, so yeah, episode 7. So we've made it past the big 5 bar. Yay! We have a pretty good show planned for today. I mean, we have tequila and vodka. But, again, a lot of stuff going on in the news. A lot of stuff going on all over. I don't know last time we talked if we had pulled out of Afghanistan yet. I don't recall.
I think they may have, but we didn't talk about it.
We didn't talk about that. There's, COVID, the Delta variant still going on. There's the new variant of interest called the MU.
I saw
MU.
that.
Yeah. So,
and that was,
even our little town, there's been a little bit of violence this past week. There's been a lot going on. But, irregardless, I think, and it's kind of true of life, there's always stuff that goes on. It always gets crazy. You always have like nonsense going on and all that stuff. And I think you have to focus on the positive. And I brought up this topic with you, which I thought would be a good topic to talk about, and I think it'd be something positive spin on life regardless of what's going on. But like manifesting and the
power of positive thinking.
Right.
We've been talking about that a lot lately, actually.
Yeah.
I think it's actually kind of come up. I think it's come up for about a year now, but I think it's become more something that we talk about probably the last few months.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's kind of started way back. I mean, COVID was a terrible year.
So
there was a lot of negative thinking, a lot of fear, a lot of like what's going to happen. So just trying to get out of that headspace. Try to think about something more than just what could happen. Just try to...
And this has kind of been with me lately, right?
Yeah.
Like this whole idea of manifesting stuff, like the power of like positive thinking, positive intentions. And let me tell you, I am not a stinking foo-foo guy, new agey stuff. Like, me, Jeanette, I am like, I consider myself like as guy as it gets.
Yeah.
I'm just one of the boys. I just want to hang out. Just want to have a good time,
just want to bro it out, huh?
Maybe I don't know, maybe I want to dance tonight. I don't know, just, maybe I want to have a drink. Maybe I want to go to the gym and slam weights around and, be masculine and do push-ups. I don't know. It's, it's my life. I can do what I want, right? Go put on pink socks and go slam weights.
Could you do all of that at the same time and do a podcast? That would be amazing.
It would be amazing.
Tune in.
Yeah, tune in. Coming next. Next. Okay. I do make a pledge by episode 8. We are going to have headphones. I'm going to manifest us sitting here, and I'm visualizing it. We're going to be wearing headphones, and we're going to be able to listen to ourselves while we're talking, which is kind of weird. But it gives you better control of the volume. So we want to step up our game. We're going to start wearing headphones.
Yes.
And then maybe in an episode or two, we're going to get some more of those mics there, and we'll have better quality mics. I mean, these look kind of cool. But
I like them, yeah.
They're kind of cool, but these were like the cheapies. But we're going to get those mics, which were like not the expensive ones, but the middle of the road. So, it's like the tales of starting a podcast.
It's only going to get better and better, guys.
Yeah, I hope so. I don't even read the comments. I'm like, oh, Lord, hopefully the comments aren't bad. So we'll see where all this goes, but I think it goes hand in hand with like manifesting and positive intentions, and I think it's all kind of tied in, and have you ever read the book called The Secret?
No.
Have you ever heard of it?
No, yeah, absolutely. I think there's even a movie. God, if I didn't read the book, should I not have watched the movie?
Is it a movie though, or is it? It's like a long infomercial.
Oh my God, I have
right. That's what I thought.
Is that what it is? I have no desire to watch it. I figure if I wanted to know this secret, I should actually read the book.
But it's like it's interesting. I'm sure I have it on my bookshelf somewhere. I always thought it was interesting. The idea of The Secret kind of goes along with that. And then there's this whole thing about manifesting, putting good intentions, all that out there. Like this whole train of thought of visualizing stuff. You know what I mean? And I think it goes beyond The Secret. Although this woman, she really put it in this little book that became like a major big seller. Mm-hmm. People were so into it. Dream boards and all that stuff. And, I'm not knocking any of it. I think it's good to dream, to have goals, write stuff down, and visit it often. I'm down with that.
I think so, but I also think that comes from just the basic concept of self-fulfilled prophecy.
Right.
If you're constantly thinking, and we were talking about this, like manifestation in reverse,
right.
And then it came to me, I was like, that's self-fulfilled prophecy.
Okay, self-fulfilled prophecy. Okay, let's talk. That's an interesting statement. So you're saying there's a prophecy, something's already written in stone, but you're making it happening. Are you also are you generating the prophecy so that it does happen?
Self-fulfilled prophecy is
it already there and you're tapping into it?
Self-fulfilled prophecy is a concept of you're making it happen by your thoughts, by if you're saying something repeatedly, like if you're kind of like, okay, so just as an example, I am going to one day, I'm like, let's say I'm going to my car and I see like
I'm going to grow into a big boy one day. I'm going to be a man.
I'm going to be a man one day. I'm going to be a man one day, and I'm going to tell my neighbor what I really think. No, I'm just kidding.
Well,
but no. What I'm thinking, like, if you're constantly thinking something, like, I think if you can think it, it will eventually happen. I mean, I think that.
See, and I'm halfway there with you.
Okay.
I don't think that if you just think it's going to happen.
I think it will. I think it can.
I did have an interesting experience with that this last week, but we'll get into it.
And I was thinking that's self-fulfilling
prophecy.
Self-fulfilled prophecy.
So I was taking a road trip across California. And when I first started listening to podcasts, I was about that time frame. And I remember listening, the gal I was driving with, my ex, she was listening to this podcast, like, glow. It was like glow. And I remember the tune, like glow. It's like glow. And all the people that were fans were all called glowies and all that.
Was that the girl wrestlers? You're talking about, wait.
No, it's a podcast.
That's a podcast called Glow?
Like something like glowies, glowing up or something like that. And then when that podcast started, there was like a little musical thing like glow. And I used to get so tickled about it. They had this positive energy, and I used to think like, I can do this.
I can glow every day.
I'm glowing, and I could glow on the mic and on YouTube. I can do this. Now, I was like, I want to be a glowy. I want to be a glowy. Can I get a shirt too?
I'm going to start my day in a positive attitude and glow. I want to glow for the world.
I want to play on the Powerpuff. Like the Powerpuff Football League for girls. I want to play in the Powerpuff League also. That's a whole different conversation about
that sounds like
men.
It sounds like we're kind of headed in a different direction.
It does. The guy's getting a sex change, playing in female sports, and they're dominating. That's a different conversation. We're not going to go there.
Wow.
Yeah, but this podcast, I used to think it was cool. I'd be driving, and like say we're driving to LA and all that. And I was like, that's kind of cool, and they were all excited. They're all jazzed. I mean, I feel like, we get on here like, let's drink, Jeanette. Gotta get my energy. I need a cigar. Give me a smoke. I need tobacco. And no, but I thought it was a cool concept. And that's when the whole thing about like podcasting, I started buying equipment and all that. And I thought, oh, we could do this, Jeanette. But I didn't know you back then. I probably didn't know you back then.
We've started I think we started knowing each other more during COVID because those were rough times.
Our first year.
The first year was pretty good. I think, yes,
I was in a leadership role.
Yes.
We just acquired the company you were with, and I was putting it out. You know what? I did put that out there. Because I'd already gone through one corporate takeover, buyout, and I didn't like the way the transition went on the ground on the floor level. And I remember thinking, you know what? I'm going to put myself out there and be more available every day. And we met you guys, and it was like, okay, we're going to buy you guys out, and this is Mark from this area and all this stuff. And I remember we met you all, and then like when they said, when it was complete, we're going to be working with each other. So when they gave us the date that like we were officially acquired you guys, I remember like the next day I moved in.
Oh, totally.
And I was there.
An office.
Yeah, I was like, okay, that's my office, right? And I remember, I had my manager at the other office, Deborah, and I knew I could count on her. And I thought, I'm going to be there for you guys every step of the way. I'm going to get to know you, and I'm gonna help you with everything.
And we learned the systems pretty quick.
I thought. And I remember thinking that. I'm going to do this.
I remember learning the systems pretty fast.
Right. And being there with you guys every step of the way. But more than just like learning, I think I had this already in my head. I was going to do it this way. I was going to be there. I could already visualize it. And it kind of goes hand in hand with what we're saying. When you visualize stuff, right? Like the whole idea of the secret, manifesting, self-fulfilling prophecy, that, you can really visualize things.
Yeah.
But okay, so The Secret, I think, is a good book. It's written by Rhonda Byrne. She says she heard about it and she put it into a book. It was a bestseller and all that. All these different languages all around the world. And I remember friends being really into it. They put their dream boards up. They put big goals out there to the universe. I'm going to make a lot of money. I'm going to drive a nice car. And they put it out there, but nothing changed for them.
Yeah.
And I think there's a part of it where you have to do the legwork.
Well, you also have to change your mindset.
Right.
I mean, I think that you can have a visualization board and have all of these amazing things, but something has to speak to you, and it has to become important to you. Because if it doesn't become important, then I don't think it's going to happen.
It's not going to happen.
You can have good days, you can have bad days, but if it's important for you to wake up in a positive
it's almost like you have to have your why also.
Yeah, you have to understand the reason why. Exactly.
Right.
And I think we've had this conversation. Like,
what's your why, Jeanette? Young men, scandalous young men, scantily clad in the swimming pool across from your apartment. Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun. That's just not enough.
It's like, so you're saying not just that one guy, but the whole gaggle of them, the whole flock.
Let's think big, okay? Let's think about a bigger scale.
I'm going to stop by your place, and there's just going to be a bunch of men in banana hammocks just all dancing in your place like, whoa.
Well, let's think bigger than that. Let's think bigger than that. Let's think about how am I going to market that. I'm just kidding.
So you're talking about a whole generation of men at your place? Like hundreds of guys?
That's going to make me money. We're not thinking prostitution here. Come on, let's not think small. Let's think big. No, but the why. I
was going to take that a whole different direction. I just looked at you. I was like, oh, crap.
But the why.
Don't say let's think big when you're talking about a whole gaggle of men and thinking bigger.
Yeah, that conversation could go the other way, and
the minute you said that,
that could be like
episode with the other. Oh, like
episode 15.
All right.
Let's get a following, and then we can skip on to another.
Put the kids away because this is an after hours conversation with.
This could be like our second podcast. It could be like Lola and
scandalous stories with Lola parentheses Jeanette, the man maker.
What is your after hours name? It'd be Paco and Lola.
Oh my God! Open up with corny 70s music. Oh my gosh.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, that's cool. This went south fast.
Yeah, totally.
We manifested.
We manifested.
We manifested. But manifest. So.
Let's get back to the why.
What's your why? What's your why?
The why of like waking up in a positive headspace, because if you don't, it like will ruin your whole day.
I think it could be anything.
I think you have to. It could be. A why could be like, being like
something
waking
personal.
waking up with a grateful heart, because I think that we've seen in the business that we're in, we've seen people and they don't always have the best life circumstance, and then when you start to recognize that could be you, and when we start to blow off the good things that are in our lives and we don't recognize that, we're not grateful for it.
Right.
I think we're doing ourselves a disservice. We're talking about like how many days left in your life do you have?
Right.
Do you really want to wake up every single day in a like, oh, I'm so tired. Yes, we're tired, but
that's me every day.
I know.
That's like every day.
Do we want to like waste that day just so we can jump and like jump to the end, or do we want to actually like do something meaningful throughout the day? And our friend earlier sent us that message, and
let me pull that up.
And I really liked it.
A profound message.
It totally was. I really liked it. I mean, I think that there is a lot of meaning behind it. Very inspiring.
Like, today is Wednesday after Memorial Day. We were off on Monday, so Tuesday seemed like Monday. Wednesday seemed like an even worse Monday. It's like a week of Mondays. And the middle of the day was just rough, right?
Today was a beast.
And then our friend, like this Dario guy, and Dario, he's like our Baxter. He's like wise back. Dario. I love this guy. But he sends us this message.
Very inspirational. I like it.
I'm going to read the quote. There's a quote. There's some reading there, but there's a quote. And it says, "He who binds to himself a joy does the winged life destroy. But he who kisses the joy as it flies lives in eternity's sunrise." And then there's like a sentence or two after that, and I think that kind of really hit me. "I stand and raise my glass. It is a great privilege to be here, I say. Then smiling, I add, in fact, it is a great privilege simply to be." It
is, and I loved it.
It was.
I think that...
in the first paragraph, I think it all went together. I should have read it from the very beginning. Because the first paragraph says, "And now I remind myself that I must heed William Blake's warning not to attempt to cling to sublime experience, but rather allow it to come and go with grace." In another of his metaphysical poems, the four-line jewel called Eternity, he writes, "He who binds to himself a joy does the winged life destroy, but he who kisses the joy as it flies lives in eternity's sunrise." And I read this today, and it really...
It's definitely very powerful.
You know what? It really struck me in a profound way. I wrote my letter last night. And in my letter last night, I was writing about a lot of my experiences. I've said, I wrote that I've seen the sunrise over the Atlantic, and I've seen it over the Rockies as you go into California. I've seen the sunrise over the Pacific on the Hawaiian Islands. I've seen the sunrise in the Caribbean. I've seen the sunrise in the Gulf of Mexico. I've seen the sunrise over the Great Lakes. I've seen 2 oceans, the Great Lakes, 2 Gulfs. I've seen 6 countries. I've surfed a lot of different waters. I've seen flowers. grow bigger than my head. I've seen hummingbirds that have tails that are like 6-8 inches long, and I've traveled to better part of the United States now, all the biggest sites now. And I was writing this last night, and it's funny because like I say, that poem and that whole passage just hit me because I'm writing this, and I'm just thinking like, I wrote last night. I've had a beer, and I've drinking beer probably with somebody from every continent on Earth.
Yeah.
I've played on random rugby teams with so many different teams. I met so many people from all over the world, through playing rugby. I've had the joy of doing things like jumping out of planes. I've snowboarded, I've surfed, I've longboarded, skateboarded. I've done everything. I'm doing as much as I possibly can. And I've done all these things. I've stayed up to the wee hours of the morning. I've gone to cities where I didn't know a single person, and I made my way, and I've had fun. And I was writing this last night, and I was like, there's so many guys that think, God, you have such a great life. You've done so many things. A good friend of mine says, you've just done so much, and you do what you want. And I'm thinking, as I'm writing this last night, I've done so much. And so many people think it's so great, and it is. But I've never shared any of those experiences with anybody. They're all my own.
Yeah.
And for some people, that might be great. But sometimes being able to share those things is just so wonderful. And I kept on thinking, I was writing this, I was like, God, how I would trade all these experiences to have just one of them with you, you know what I mean? And I was writing this, and it like hit me hard, just all these stupid things I've done over my life that are epic.
Yeah.
And I'm not telling people to repeat some of the stuff I've done where you wake up drunk on the beach halfway across the country and other states. And
how did it get here? And
it's so epic. And when I read that, what he says about what this passage, that he sent us, how it said, warning not to attempt to cling to sublime experiences, but rather to allow it come and go with grace. And another of his, what did it say?
Well, I also liked that his takeaway was basically like, live a meaningful life. Like.
And do you remember my question to him after that?
I didn't actually.
I don't know if I wrote it or if I thought I did, but it says, "What's a meaningful life?"
I think, from what I understood, and dang it, too bad he's not here because I would have loved for him.
If he's listening to this story, you should have been here. I've asked him.
Been here. Because this is up his alley for sure.
Yeah, and okay, so I didn't ask him, but the whole time he wrote that. I go,
living a life with intention. I think when you live a life with intention, I think that was my takeaway. If you live a life with intention, live a meaningful life. But being intentful.
Here's what he wrote. He says, choose your things times mindfully so it is a fulfilling experience and can bring joy, happiness. Thomas Merton said, take more time, cover less ground. Choose activities with objectivity that are worth your time. And
I think that's great for all areas of life. I think that's fantastic. I think it could work with everything that you do. Like waking up with the intention of having a good day and like making it really powerful for you, like making it meaningful, even in the job that you do, like making sure that you create, you do all you can in that day.
Here's something for me. What's your why, right? And making it, what's meaningful. And that's all I thought about all day today. I thought I messaged it, but I didn't. But what is meaningful? What's the why? And I get lost in that.
I think. I don't know if this is a final answer because I don't know. The why can always change. I think for me.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. It can change.
Yeah, I think for me and maybe where I'm at in my life right now, it's just, I think that. For instance, we're already September. Yeah. It's gonna be freaking Christmas. Around September, I always tell people, wow, it's already Christmas. Yeah. But it's because, time passes by so quick. And how many days that you've passed this year, can you remember how many days do you have memories? And yeah, we have pictures and stuff, but how many meaningful days did you have that you can fully remember that, man, that was awesome? And if you can, why can't it be more?
Here's something.
Why does it have to be the mundane
When was the last
life?
time you were doing something and you wished, like, whether it be at Christmas, like some sort of like one of those holidays where you're supposed to be with your friends and family and something, and you're celebrating it and you're in the moment and you're being merry, thankful, grateful, and it's a loving moment, and while you're experiencing that, all you could think is like where you wanted to be and who you wanted to be with. Have you ever had that moment?
Well, who I want to be with is definitely an unanswered question.
And listen. I know David Hasselhoff is a very busy man, and I know he's the object of your desires, but
at this point, you know what it is. It's like I'm in a really good place in my life where I'm. I don't know, like I'm finding my groove. I've surrounded.
We're in a very similar age range, so I think our mindsets should be like not parallel but close.
Yeah.
I think there's so much that's very age specific. Think about what meant a lot to you when you're 18, in your 20s, in your 30s, and as you gotten older.
I've always wanted to be a person who could hold my own. I've always wanted to be a person to not be afraid to be out there in the world and live my life solo. Now, if I met someone to complement that, that would be amazing. But I've never wanted to be a person who is afraid to live her best life. And there's a lot of things, and that has honestly become a super important thing.
That scares me.
Does it?
Like not being afraid. Because I find myself, as time has gone on, and I've gone on living, and I think of this concept of not being afraid, because I'm a man, and I think with men that resonates particularly. It's something that's just burning inside. Not conquer your fears, don't be afraid. And I find the more I don't want to be afraid of stuff, the more like the crazier things I do. Like,
well, okay.
Do you know what I mean?
When I say that, it means totally different for me. But yeah, because
maybe it manifests in different ways.
You're more of an extreme person. You're a very adventurous person. You like to jump out of planes and go do some crazy stuff. And I know some of the stuff that you've done. You don't mind. You want to push yourself to the limit. And for you, I think that means pushing yourself in ways where even if it's painful, you're going to do it.
I have to laugh at that, even if it's going to be painful.
You're going to do it. You're going to do it. I mean, think about the baton
death march
that you did. Your feet were so messed up.
I laughed.
And not only that, you took extra weight with you.
I took that.
Purposely.
Okay, so
the first time.
There's different levels. There's people that run it. There's like the half marathon, the full marathon. Then you have the civilian and military class. But the civilian military class, you have the light pack, which is like 15 pounds, 12 for women, I think. And then you have the heavy pack, which is 35 pounds. And 25 for women, I think. And so when my finishing weight when I finished the race was like 65 pounds. And I don't know why I did that.
I know, but you were so super proud, but you were also super hurt. The days after, I remember.
My foot was one big. So
I think you were wearing Crocs to the office
for like 2 weeks. So I finished the race. No, I didn't. I went to the med station on the last 3 quarters on the very last time, and this girl, I actually knew the nurse, and she took off my boot, and she's like, "Oh, let me go call the supervisor, whatever." She comes over and she's like, "Yeah, go ahead and pop that and wrap it up." Like my whole foot was one big blister.
Oh my god!
And they wrapped it up and all that. And they put my boots back on. I laced them back on. I think by that time I already changed. I was in tennies because I started in boots. And I took 10 steps, and I remember wanting to give up at that point. because my feet were in so much pain. Like, my feet had blistered so badly to that point that I was like, I can't do this. And I turned around and I almost went back to the aid station. And I was just like, nah, I can do this. And like every step was the most excruciating pain. And I figured, it's like, you know what? Just keep going until you can't feel your feet no more. And eventually that's where I got. I got to the point where
you couldn't even feel
I couldn't feel the pain no more, and I was able to like double time my walk at that point and go faster. And it was funny because you know, you leave the aid station, you go around the desert, and then, you know, there's a trail that goes up and down, and then there's a dirt road that goes all the way to White Sands. And I remember seeing like mile marker like 20. I was like, all right, I got like 6 more miles. And I remember from that mile marker to 21, and then from 21 to 22, first of all, there's things littered all over the side of the trail. People just drop their backpacks, their coats, just like...
There's people laying on the ground.
There are people just laying on the ground, and people are just abandoning stuff. They're just giving up, and they're just sitting there. And I remember this one lady, she was like working on the team, and she kept on driving up in the little golf cart or whatever she had. And she's like, "Hey, are you okay? Are you okay?" And I kept going, "Yeah, I'm fine. I'm fine." She would come back to me every like few minutes. She goes, "You're okay, right?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm fine." And I just kept on thinking, this is 20 to 21. That's the longest mile ever. And then 21 from 22, and it's like, what the hell? That seemed like 2 miles. I thought, I was like, when I got to 22, I thought that'd be 24. And then from 22 to 23, I was like,
oh my gosh, I'm dying.
Right, and then, so you get to the end of the straightaway, and you're like, I could see the straightaway, but where's the end? It should be right there. And then there's like a 90-degree turn and trail that goes around the base. And I remember just thinking like, I can't do this anymore. But it was like around mile 24. There's like 2 more miles. And I started jogging, like to get around to the end. And I was like, I've got to finish. And I remember just at that point being so exhausted and it hurt so bad, I just started running as hard as I could for like the last 2 miles, just because I wanted to be done. And it's cool because you go around the base, and then there's one last turn where you turn to the finish line, and everybody's right there at the finish line for the last it's like 26.25 miles, and that last little quarter mile stretch. Everybody's there and they're cheering and they're yelling, and it's so exhilarating, and you start running even harder, and you don't feel the pain, you don't feel the hurt. And I have a picture of myself at that point, and I looked horrible, and the pack was painful, and you get to the finish line and you just collapse. And I just remember thinking like, it was so many emotions. You're overwhelmed with joy, you're overwhelmed with excitement, the exhaustion, you're trying not to break down, that you're just thankful that it's over.
Oh my gosh.
And it was just a horrible experience, but I mean, at the same time, it's like, okay, I want to do this again. And I only signed up for the baton like a week and a half or something, like 2 weeks, which was like the last day to sign up.
You didn't even train.
You know? Well, okay, so I did it.
I mean, sure, with going to the gym and stuff like that, but you weren't training. Kind of training. You weren't training
it's
for
a different kind of training.
That distance.
No, you don't. Like, people train for marathons. And all my friends have been training for months and months, and they were hiking, increasing the distances. And stupid me, classic Mark, this is the way I always do it. For everything, triathlon, CrossFit, whatever. This is the way I always do it. It's like, yeah, I can do it. It's in 2 weeks. I'll sign up. Do it and go and do it and push my hardest to get it done. And it's like, I'm so stupid. so stupid.
Why?
It was a good feeling, though.
That's awesome, though.
It was a good feeling. And probably the worst part of it was walking back to my vehicle, trying to find my vehicle. That was the worst part, because at that point, everything is really sinking in. You're getting cold. The endorphins are wearing off, and every step is painful. And you're still having to lug your gear around. Well, by that point, I dropped off because I ate all the rice and beans I had. You donated, so I left it all there. But it was just the worst experience walking by myself back to my vehicle, and I was just like, it's horrible. It was horrible, but I'm glad I did it though.
Well, that's pushing yourself, and that's, I think when people think about like, oh, look at what Mark did, I think a lot of people want to live a life like that, but how many people have the courage to do that? And you know, for me, what I've always just wanted to be able to do it on my own, no matter what. I don't know. I don't know. I'm having a good time in my 40s, and that's pretty much where I'm at. I think it could be better. I think
the 30s get good, the 40s get better, and you're right. They always can be better, but it's what you make of it.
Yeah, and I'm having a really good time just because, you know, it's kind of like that quote, your vibe attracts your tribe. Your vibe attracts your tribe. Well, what kind of tribe
I'm a one-man wolf pack.
But no, I'm making, you know, I've surrounded myself with people that I enjoy hanging out with my friends, and I've enjoyed myself.
Circling back to what we're talking about manifesting things and visualizing things. Yeah. If you're talking about you want your 40s to be better, what do you want your 40s to be? And let's visualize it and let's make it happen, right?
Yeah. Well, yes, life-wise, the way things, my lifestyle, I'm liking it. But it can always be better. It could always be better. I mean, because, come on, we're pushing 50, and then 60, and then, God, okay. So, I mean, there's always things I can do better.
My heart hurts just a little bit talking about this.
I don't always, like, when it comes to, like, diet and exercise. Can I just say,
I don't want to get any older. I just want to stop.
Can we stay? I wish I could stay in my 40s because I'm really enjoying it. You know, like there's
I'm enjoying it more than my 30s. That's weird.
Yeah, me too. And there's like a certain confidence that comes with it, like especially professional-wise.
All right, my stupid confidence has always been there.
But professional-wise, you know, I mean, you're actually the professional. You know, when you're in your 20s and you know you go into these jobs and you're in a professional position, you don't often have the knowledge or the confidence to do the job. You're constantly learning, and you know, I'm at the age that if I, you know, see someone who is doing something better or, you know, does something a certain way, I'm gonna learn what they're doing. I have no qualms with like seeing what they do, you know, and I have no qualms in saying, hey, I'm not very good at that, so teach me how to be better at this. You know, you got to take away.
I'll see you doing it. I'm like, oh, you know what my mindset is?
I want to learn as much as I can to make me a better professional.
You know what my mindset is, and this is, I don't know if this is good or bad. I'll see something somebody's doing, and I'm like, I can do that.
I want to do it better.
Yeah, and I'm like, okay, I'll be at the gym, and you know, maybe the gym's not the best example, but I'll be like, you know what, fuck you, I'm gonna do it better than you.
Did you say the F word?
I did, because you know that's what I say, and I do that, and I'll be like, fuck you, I'm gonna do it better than you.
Awesome.
You know, and sometimes I regret it because it hurts afterwards, but I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do better than you. That's all there is to it, and I don't know what it's gonna take, but I'm gonna figure it out.
I think it's okay to
maybe not to that level. I do it. I don't know.
You learned in a different way. You want to aspire to be better by not being taught, by just showing up the other.
Oh my God,
that is hilarious. I love this conversation.
Right? I need to look up another quote while you're making a dream. Or while you're making a drink here, I need some more tequila.
Yes, I am making a dream. I'm making my dream come true here with my next drink. Oh my goodness, guys.
Oh, I know, right? Oh. Hey, don't throw my phone. I think about like I heard this quote.
Okay.
And it's actually by Anthony Bourdain.
Who I love Anthony Bourdain.
You know who I heard it say it was Jocko Willink was reading a passage from Anthony Bourdain's book, and he says something like, "I want to live life. I want," you know, and I'm going to butcher this quote up, but he says something like, "I want to eat, I want to eat, raw fish food in lo mein in the back alleys of Vietnam. I wanna be in a Jeep as we fly through a checkpoint in Africa, throwing cigarettes at the check guards."
Have you ever seen his show?
I do.
No Reservation.
I do.
Love this show.
I'm actually working on something like that.
Yeah,
and I think that's something you and I are probably going to do here soon. But
I love that show.
I like this. I like that quote about doing those things, and he goes, "I want to do this, and I want to do that, and I'm going to do it." again, it speaks to me. It speaks to me in like such a primal level. Like, I am. I think about what Anthony Bourdain does, and I think about what so many people have done before or after. I want to see a war-torn country when there's bullets zipping by. I want to stay up all night drinking fine liquors and smoking cigarettes. I want to breathe in the love of a woman that just adores me more than life itself. I want to ride every wave on every ocean on the world. And I want to eat the most disgusting food made in people's backyards over a hole in the ground, whether it be in Mexico, United States, in the big city, or in the country. I want to do this all, and I want to, people say, go live well, go live and live well, but I don't want to just live well. I want to live hard. I want to do it balls to the wall hard.
Yeah.
I don't want to just go and do something. I want to be that guy that let's jump out of the plane. You know what I mean?
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Let's drive all night drunk, wake up in the beach in California and figure out, fuck, I only got $10. How the hell are we going to get home? Or wake up in Vegas and, with a group of guys that gamble the car title to their vehicle away just to, have money to gamble and trying to win the money back to win the car back the next day. I want to do those things. I want to do it hard, and it's going to hurt. And, I want to do that, and I want to do it hard.
I think that's great.
And I don't know what
because you want to experience life.
I don't know what it's going to cost me to do it. I don't mean when I mean cost.
It's not money cost.
It's not money cost.
No, it's going to cost you a lot more than that.
And I know when I look now that I'm looking at the back end of my life, if we're on the top of the hill and we spent the first part of our life climbing up the hill, we should be able to look now and look towards we're on the top of the mountain, and we should look and we should be able to see the path before us now because we're looking down, and we should even be able to see the valley at the very bottom where our life comes to end. And now it's up to us to say, like, how am I going to get there? Am I going to take the easy path down? Because every mountain has an easy path. Or am I going to do it like the day when I came climbing down the mountains here, where I totally found myself off path and I had to jump from boulder to boulder and climb through the brush and hold on for dear life in certain places. And am I going to remember every scrape and bruise, and it's going to suck, but it's going to be freaking glorious?
Well, sometimes,
do you know what I mean?
Yeah, sometimes taking those off-road adventures in life, you might actually discover something about yourself, or might discover something that no one else has seen.
I remember my first time going to New York.
Yeah? It's overwhelming.
My buddy took me to the train station. He said, "This is how you're going to get this. You take this train, transfer to this train, and you're going to end up in Manhattan." And the train pulled into it was like midnight, or not midnight, but it was the last train going into Penn Station. Came out underneath Madison Square Garden, and I remember just coming out. You know where we are when it's 11 o'clock here. There's traffic, but there's no one on the street. It's
but over there, it never sleeps.
You come out and there's
I've never been out that way, but yeah.
And there's people, and the girls are wearing high heels with their short skirts, and there's noise, and you smell 10 different foods cooking, and then you're surrounded by these monoliths, these gigantic celestials of these buildings that are just surrounding you, and you can't just help but stop there and look at it. With my backpack in one hand, didn't know where to go, didn't know anyone, hailed down a taxi driver that was from Pakistan. I remember he told me he was from Pakistan, and he's like, "Where do you want to go?" I'm like, "I don't know anybody here, but tell you what, take me to a bar." "What bar do you want to go to?" "Take me to a place that's just hopping. That's all I want to go."
Yeah.
And we'll just figure it out from there. And it was an adventure, and it was glorious, and it was awesome.
But you weren't afraid. A lot of people are afraid to do that stuff.
Well, it's terrifying.
Well, it is terrifying, but it's also very exciting. And when you can do that, I think a lot of it, I don't know, maybe I'm generalizing. I've come to discover that a lot of people have a hard time even just going and having dinner or going out and having a drink on their own. Or I've never wanted to be that person. I've always wanted to be that person to, if I want to go out and have a drink, I'm going to go out and have a drink. Or I'm going to go out and, talk to someone. Or I'm going to do what I want to do.
Yeah.
And if, along in life, someone comes to do those things with me, that's great. But I've never wanted to be afraid to do those things.
It's like,
and I think that when you can get in that headspace, I think that it's, you can live the life that you want to live. Now, can I think bigger? Yes. We're talking about me making, Boys to Men, whatever. All right. Just an example, which can totally go the wrong way. I can totally see this happening. Can't I just
No, go on, please.
Yeah. Let's not think small. I don't know where to start from there.
No, Jeanette, please don't think small. Go on, please.
Let me not think small.
Please.
But, you should live the life that you're comfortable living. And if you're comfortable living it, that's great. But also think about how you can be better and expand that.
Don't be afraid.
Don't be afraid. And we're all afraid. I'm afraid too sometimes.
You visualize it.
But you have to be able to do the things that scare you.
I think as a kid, I was always a dreamer. I was always daydreaming, and I was always a dreamer. And some people, that might be bad because they always dream. But dreaming is a part of manifesting, right? Mm-hmm. You have to visualize it. And what's great about dreaming is sometimes when you're a daydreamer, you see things with such clarity the way you want to do it. And you start to understand the things that are going to scare you, and you can almost feel the butterflies in you.
But then you should do it if it scares you.
But you in your mind you make that plan to make the next step.
Do the things that scare you.
Do the things that scare you, right? And it's funny because we all have different fears.
Oh, totally.
Some people are afraid to talk to other people or talk in rooms, and that was always the easy part for me. I don't know if you can tell, but I'm the talker.
No, really? We're talking about how you make. No.
Do you have any more ice? You have any more ice there?
Huh?
You have any more
I
ice?
don't.
Oh, it's okay. I still have some ice. But yeah, it's you. As a kid, I was always a dreamer and daydreaming, and I was always daydreaming. But I think it kind of goes hand in hand with manifesting if you know how to use it to visualize. Because I think part of manifesting is that whole visualization. If you can see it with clarity, you're not going to make it happen exactly, but it does give you a certain strength to move forward.
So, go ahead.
Especially when you dream of it and you visualize it in a certain way. And maybe 5 steps out of the 10 happen the way you think it's going to happen. Those 5 steps will be just enough to push you on through the next part of it, which you can't anticipate.
Well, and what's awesome about just having this conversation? We're talking about our 40s and it gets better. So for me, I love my 40s. I love it. If we're already having these ideas about manifestation, about the power of self-fulfilled prophecy, about visualization boards, and just knowing that you can be better, you can try to have a meaningful life or have live a life with purpose or intention. Think about now, if we're happy with what we're doing so far, can you imagine now that we're starting to incorporate this way of thinking? Where are we going to be in a year? Where are we going to be in 2 years? I think it could only get better.
It's funny because I remember last podcast we were saying, I said that quote, youth is wasted on the young.
Yes.
And it's funny because when you're young, you're vibrant. You have so much energy. You don't know what to do. You have strength. You have physical strength, and you can go days without sleeping. You can do all this stupid crap, right?
Oh, yeah.
Where in your 40s, as you get older, you have the willpower now.
But I have to be more thoughtful about my rest.
I know, right? Right, exactly.
I have to be more thoughtful about how I'm going to rest.
10, 15 years ago, you had that energy that you could go nonstop.
Oh, totally.
Whereas now, as you get older, you have the mindset for it. But you never had the mindset, and you never have you never have that energy at the same time. Could you imagine how powerful you would be if you had the strength and the energy of a 20-year-old, and you had the mindset of you in your 40s where you're more focused and you could plan things out, and you had that willpower and you put those together, you would be unstoppable.
Oh my God.
You know what I mean?
Someone should have told me.
I know. Well, and it was funny, you know, my father, God rest his soul. I think about the things my father says, and I remember when I was young and I was a kid, and I'm sure everybody's heard something like this from the father at least once, maybe, or something like that. But he would say, like, he's like, you don't believe me now, but one day you're gonna think, like, how did he know?
Yeah.
And he would tell me, like, things back when I was a kid, like, oh, what do you know? He's like, oh, when I was your age, or I could do this, or listen to me. And I was like, what do you know? And in hindsight, it's like, God bless it, that man knew.
He was right. He was right.
And then I think about him being 18 years old, going to the Marines, going to fight in Korea, and talk about overcoming your fears, because it's literally life and death, and you're in the butthole of the world where it's freezing. Everybody hates you, and it's miserable, and you're just a kid, and you have to overcome that, because if not, you'll die.
Yeah, that's a lot to handle at such a young age.
And there's not precision killing weapons at that age. At that age, at that time in the 50s, at the end of World War II, going to World War in the Korean conflict,
enemy even with the gun.
You're still facing your enemy with a gun, so you have to overcome so much. You have to overcome so much, and there has to be like a certain will to survive to overcome that. And it was just a different time.
Yeah.
Different time and different people. What was that one saying that we had said in one of our earlier podcasts? Like, hard times make hard men make good times make soft men makes bad times.
Oh, I like it. I don't remember it, but of course we've had many drinks since then. So.
We've had a lot of scotch and a lot of tequila since then, and I mean, I'll drink to that. Yeah. This reposado is going down good.
Yes, these drinks are good, and we had a feeling it would.
Oh my God, I needed it. But yeah, you think about that, and it goes with our topic now about manifesting that, and then I think as I've gotten older, like one thing that's really struck me is manifesting and putting your mind to something, and not only just putting your mind to something, but the thoughts you fill your head with, the words you say, the words you commit to paper. Mm-hmm. The words have power.
Oh, totally.
And I believe that so much more than I ever have. Like, I've never been a guy to say I can't do it, or I'm not sure. I mean, maybe I said I'm not sure, I'll figure it out. But I've never been somebody to say I can't. But I think back to the people that say, like, I can't do it, or you know what I mean? And it's like, when you're young and you're thinking about it, somebody says you can't, you're like, oh, all right, whatever. But now in hindsight, it's like, even the words you say and you utter, whether you utter them with power and force, or whether you say them under your breath, the words have so much power. Like, you talk about your vibes. Your vibes come from your mindset. Yes. The way you think creates the vibes, and your vibes create your tribe, like you're saying. But the words that you put out there in the world have such power. It's just like the same thing. They're just like a magnet. And if you utter these words, I can't do it, I don't know how, I can't, or it's impossible.
Then you're going to be in that negative headspace.
If you say it,
totally,
it's going to happen, and it puts your mind there, and you're not going to be able to do it.
Absolutely. People are their own worst enemies.
People are their own worst enemies.
You guys, I mean, this is what it comes down to. It's like, you hold yourself. People hold themselves back. I've held myself back. And this is something that you have to continue to work on. This isn't, you have to just keep living your best life. Just be in that positive headspace. Continue to remember, like Dadio. I love that. Living a life with intention, meaningful life. I love it, because anything, for me, I'm at a point where,
But the problem is, it goes back to what we just said. Youth is wasted on the young, and when you're young, you don't know what living your best life is. You don't know what intention is. You don't know the meaning behind the why behind it.
Yeah.
You're not grateful for it yet. Maybe some people are. I'm not. I can't say everybody.
I also think it comes with maturity, though. I mean,
yeah, without a doubt. Without a doubt.
Dang it! Why can't you be mature at the age of 20?
Right? Jesus Christ! And I think there are people that do. I think there are people that they're put in situations where they have to step up to the mantle and they lace up their bootstraps and they get stuff done and something kicks them in the ass and they do it.
Yeah.
But for the rest, then the other 99% of us, we're just going to college parties and drinking all night and worrying about getting laid and does that girl like me and what am I going to wear?
Listen,
talk about priorities being wrong.
I totally wasted my 20s. My priorities were super jacked up, and it wasn't until my 30s that I realized that. Then my 40s, I'm like, oh my gosh, I wasted so much time. I wasted a lot of time.
I remember I was talking to this girl, and she says, I wouldn't change a thing. And I think about a lot of people that say, I wouldn't change a thing. And all I could think of is like, really?
I remember you telling me this before. And I can kind of see why she said that, but go ahead.
Continue. I mean, for me, don't get me wrong, my 20s were great.
No.
Every night was a party, and every night was exciting and all that. But also, 10 years of your life, 3,650 days of your life, and every moment, those 10 years of when you have the most energy, the most drive, the most stamina.
Could have been better wasted on something more positive.
Wasted.
Yeah. But I think that when people say stuff like that, if they didn't experience those things, they feel like they wouldn't have become the person that they are now.
Yeah.
So, and there might be some truth to that. If you didn't make those mistakes, then it wouldn't have led you to today. Right. If you wouldn't have done what you did back then and live your life, you wouldn't be you right now. And I think that's, in a sense, maybe
when they cracked the egg that I came out of, I was kind of already like that.
Oh my God. Oh my goodness. So
when I was hatched, when the stork dropped me off at my parents' house.
So someone needs to have a conversation with you about how you came to be.
The birds and the bees.
We'll let your mom handle that.
Oh Lord, no! If it were still up to my parents, I'd still be waiting to meet the one and get some action. If it was up to them.
And it's funny because I think, and I could be wrong, but just because hold on. I'm gonna say it. We're Hispanic.
Okay.
We're Hispanic.
Say it. Say it.
And this can be with anybody. I mean, why am I? I'm so anyway. So anyway, but no, it could be with anybody. I mean, sometimes cultural, the way you're brought up. Sometimes it's based on culture, your culture, religion, but with Hispanics, if any of you all know with Hispanics, they're very, very old-fashioned.
I still remember my father having a talk with me about the birds and the bees. I don't know. I didn't know if he had that talk with my siblings.
A lot of traditions, a lot of family traditions.
I remember being like in high school, my dad telling me when he's like, you're kind of young now, but I'll let you know, when it's appropriate to have relations and at that point he already knew I've had relations. I was hitting it. And he knew it, and I knew he didn't know how to have that conversation with me. And I remember just are we really having this talk? And he's like, and I remember he couldn't do it, but he was like, I'll just let you know when it's cool. And when you're old enough and you can handle it, I'll let you know. And I'm like, well, by golly, if it's up to my father, I wouldn't have had sex till my middle 30s.
No, you probably wouldn't have. Well, it's funny because traditionally that's probably the way he was brought up.
No, I don't think so.
No?
I think...
Is it just parents or do you think it's the Hispanic culture? At this point, is this culture?
The older I've gotten... Okay, so my mother's Mexican. My dad's grew up here in the States, but he's strongly influenced from that culture. And the more I think about it, the more I see my siblings, the more I see myself, and the more I learned about my father, because I've heard about my mother and father. I've heard their story from my mom now. I've heard it from my father. I've heard it from my grandparents. So I've heard everybody's side of the story.
Take.
And the more I hear about it, the more I'm like, our parents were exactly like us just 60 years ago. Maybe they didn't have the internet. Maybe they weren't on, Tinder. They weren't swiping right. But they were living a life pretty damn similar to us 60 years ago, just as scandalous, making just the same dumb decisions. And
it's all very hush-hush.
But it's all hush-hush.
But isn't our scandal today very hush-hush?
No, it's not. It's on Instagram. And
I'm so happy that...
It's on Facebook. I mean, it's out there now. Whereas back then, you didn't have cell phones, and, you had to have a communal phone where you thought, operator through number 361, please. Okay, I'll connect you. And my dad talks to me about having to call the switchboard.
Oh my gosh.
And you had to give him the house number, and he's like, operator 351. It was funny because he was telling me about this operator that had the most beautiful voice, he said. Her voice was just so sexy by itself, and it was just so beautiful. Yeah, he loved calling the operator, and he would talk to her for a minute, and he goes, yeah, connect me to like this, 361, 155, whatever. And she'd connect them, and that's back when you had to pull the cable out and connect to that, and they'd be like, you've got a call from da-da-da, and she'd connect them, and they'd start talking on the, like, hey, what's going on, da-da-da, And so he says, like, one day I asked her out. He's never seen this woman. It might as well be the internet. It was the internet of their time, the telephone.
Like blind dating.
Like a blind date. He fell in love with her beautiful, sexy, just enticing voice. Just drawing him in.
Uh-huh.
And he says he meets her up, takes her out to dinner, and he's like, oh my God. She was just as plain Jane. Nothing phenomenal about her as can be. And he said he was so disappointed, but he took her out. He treated her nice. They went to dinner. He didn't give me the details. I'm sure there's more than that to it that he left out.
Oh, he's not going to.
And he didn't tell me how many times they went out or anything, but he said they did go out. But he said, like, he was just like, I could still hear her. But man, I just wish I could have, like, not had met her. I wish I just only knew her by her voice.
Oh, his dream was killed.
His dream was killed.
My
father.
Like I
don't know if he's ever told that to my siblings or anything like that, but I'll never forget that story of him telling me, like, she had the most beautiful
Well, if your siblings
voice.
ever watch this podcast, I think they now know the story.
They now know. That happened to my dad. My dad got he got suckered in by the he got catfished by the Tinder of his age. The switchboard.
That was
old school catfishing.
That was
the old school catfish.
Oh my gosh.
Didn't know what he had. So tell me more about yourself. And she's on the other line. Well, I'm 5'4" and da 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 and da da da. And he's like, and he's all holding the mic. He has the receiver here. He's like, oh wow, please tell me more.
Tell me more.
Oh my God.
I love that story.
Oh my God.
I love that story.
My dad got catfished.
Old-fashioned catfish. I like it.
What's funny is and this is probably true for everybody, but I never realized like how much I loved my father and how much I appreciated it till he was gone. And I was telling this to Evelyn, but I don't talk to my dad every day. I never talk to my mom every day. I'll go weeks without talking to them. But there's just such security knowing they were there.
Yeah.
I knew at any point during the day I could just go talk to him. And we'd sit in the garage and we'd talk. And he'd have his cheap beer, Keystone for a while, and he'd be smoking Winston and telling me something. And, I miss that. And before he finally wasn't very audible when he could talk anymore.
Mm-hmm.
The last thing he said to me when we were in the garage, and he's still smoking his cigarettes, and he died 2 weeks later, but the last thing he could really clearly say to me was, I'm really proud of you. And he says, you've got the bull. You've got it by the horns. He goes, don't ever let go. He says, don't ever let go. You've got the bull by the horns. Don't ever let go.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I know when it started. I know when that line of conversation started.
You knew that he didn't have a lot of time, did you?
No, well, at that moment, no. But I remember when I was 17.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's if you pay attention to your parents, you can see when your parents change in life. Just like if you pay attention to your phases of your life and you look back, you see when you change. I know when I changed, I was 28 going on 29. But I remember I was 17 and I wanted to play football so bad. And I always wanted to play football. And my senior year of high school, I wanted to play at least 1 year of football. And I didn't tell my dad I was already going to football practice. I didn't tell him that I was trying out for the team. Jim Bradley, the coach here, he says, he pulls me aside and he goes, "You don't have a lick of athleticism about you. You don't know anything about football." And Bradley says, "You know what though? You just don't know when to quit." And he says, "I like you. And just because you don't know when to quit and you don't know when to stop, I'm going to let you play with us."
Wow, that's awesome. That's
and
amazing.
So I was cleaning chili in the back of the house. Jalapenos, cleaning the little heads off the jalapenos. My dad comes out and he says, "So you want to play football?" I said, "Yeah." And at that point I was still very young, very timid Mark. I hadn't come out of my shell yet. And I was like, "Yeah." And he says, "You know, you're going to take away from the family business. And everybody's going to have to pick up your work and all that. And, you know, you owe us. You want to do this? Well, you do it. But you owe us because we're gonna give you the time to do it."
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, "Oh God, what do I have to do? Cut grass or something?" He goes, "You know what? Every day you go out," and he tells me this. He goes, every day you go out there. So I want you to remember that, and you give them hell every day."
That's amazing. That's really good. Yeah.
If there's like if there's defining moments in my life, that's one of them. Like that's probably the one moment that really set the course for the next 25, 30 years of my life was my dad telling me, "Give him hell."
Yeah.
To the moment when he died and he says, "You've got the bull by the horns, you don't let it go." And I've done a lot of stupid shit and I've done a lot of stuff and I don't think I'm even done writing my book yet. But he put me on this path and fuck, it's been crazy. And you know, people say you don't know when to stop, Mark. My dad didn't teach me anything about stopping. He just told me.
And ever since I've known you, I've never known you to stop either. You've never stopped. Yeah, you've never stopped.
So, stay up till 1 a.m. and wake up at 5 because you don't want to miss a moment of life. But you don't stop, and I don't. Youth is wasted on the young, and you don't know what you have, and you don't know, like, you think your parents are dumb and like what do they know and whatnot, but man, my dad, he
Oh, absolutely not true. Our parents, they knew way more than we could understand.
It's like they have you, and you're like a snowball, and they make a snowball, and they're on the mountain, and they set you on your way, and it's like a snowball rolling down the hill, and they just set you on your way, and you start becoming this avalanche, and the avalanche that this avalanche is power of life that doesn't stop and that's all consuming and destroys everything in front of it, all started from a snowball that your parents set, put on the ground, and they just gave you that shove. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And but it's funny, like, it's just funny, like, how it comes to full circle. And you think about the way you think now and the energy you put out there. I would have never have correlated my thought process to my parents. I always thought I was just a stubborn old mule. But as I've gotten older, I think, like, yeah, he set me on my way, and the way I think and the way I visualize and take control of things, it all started from there. And I know a lot of people may not have that. May not have their father. Maybe they're raised by their mom or vice versa. And maybe some people have to figure it on their own because they don't have that example. And that's tough. I feel for them. Because visualizing your life is hard. And then putting it out there in the universe and making it happen is even harder. And hopes and dreams and wishes are great because you need those goals and you need something to strive for. You need to manifest it. But you also have to put the work behind it.
Absolutely. And I think that maybe that's where most people are at. I think sometimes we're held back by how we're raised or how we were brought up, and we think we can't go forward. But if anything, that's something that, I think that some people's upbringing is either going to be good or bad.
Yeah.
And if it's good, then great, because you're a step ahead.
Yeah.
But if it's bad, well, then you're going to have a tougher challenge, because you have to basically overcome that barrier of realizing that maybe that was a bad upbringing and overcoming that. Yeah. And then not only on top of that is figuring out what you want to do. But
it's possible, though.
It is totally possible.
It's always possible. It was my friend Levi.
Yeah.
My friend Levi, he says, I don't remember the exact quote of this quote. You can learn from one teacher, right? The person in front of you, the person guiding you. Or you can... Sure. Or you can open up a book and you can read 10 books and you can have 10 teachers. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's cool. You can open a book and you can have 10 teachers. You're only limited by your own desire and your own.
Well, like I said, I think that we limit ourselves. I really truly believe that we are our own worst enemies. If you don't think you can do it, then you're not going to do it. And it doesn't mean that I have all the answers. It just means that I try to figure it out too, and I figured out that there's
two
good
guys
advice out there. Good hope.
Two guys I really like in history. And you know me, I can always talk about history, but
I know
there's two guys in history that I like. One was Teddy Roosevelt, Theodore Roosevelt, and the other was Woodrow Wilson.
Yeah.
And these were guys like Teddy Roosevelt, wanted to live a life of adventure.
Yes.
So he went out there. He'd go boxing and he'd go live on the frontier and
go hunt. That's I think a lot of people see those.
When the Spanish-American War happened, he did not want to let that pass by without living the adventure. And he, I think he was in public office. I don't remember. And he resigned his position in public office to join the military to lead the Rough Riders. Rough Riders. I don't know if you know. Do you know where the Rough Riders came from?
I do know the Rough Riders.
Do you know where they're from, though? Where that group of men came from?
No.
They came from New Mexico, primarily. The Rough Riders were primarily from New Mexico because the landscapes of the southwest United States resembled that most of Cuba. So they had men over here training on horseback and military tactics, so they would go to Cuba and fight in the Cuban environment because it resembled this part of the United States so much.
So funny that New Mexico is used for a lot of military training.
So funny it's used for a lot of military training.
Even today.
But Teddy Roosevelt, he had no fears, balls to the wall. And when he lost his child and his wife, he didn't want, he handled it in his own way, but he went out into the frontier and lived an exciting life to help him get past that, that grieving process. But he was definitely somebody that wasn't going to live life slip away from him. He went and did stuff. And then Woodrow Wilson is a guy, and I read this somewhere about him writing his memoirs before, almost like before they happened. He said, I want to do this. I want to be in the military. I want to go fight in World War I. I want to go fight the Huns and whatnot. And I'm going to go lead them in battle and whatnot. And his, the line of England, this man was very much like, talk about manifested. He talked about how great he was going to be, and he did it. And he always had that visualization of who he was going to be. And when the time was right and the opportunity was there, he was already ready because he saw it. He had already saw it. He was writing about it in his memoirs already that he was going to do it. So was it an accident that he was there leading the forces in Gallipoli with the Anzacs? That Gallipoli is in Turkey, down on an invasion of Turkey during World War One. And then was it an accident that he was the prime minister during World War II? I don't think so, because he already knew that he was going to be great, and he knew that he was going to do those things. This man that go up, this big bell tower or something, and watch the German fighters come in and yell at them as they came in while the anti-aircraft guns in England were firing. And he was an old man. The Lion of England, Churchill, Winston Churchill. Mm-hmm. The men that I don't want to say we'll never see again, but we won't see them again in our lifetime. Teddy Roosevelt, Churchill, Patton.
No, we won't.
Men that weren't afraid to, they lived with purpose.
The Margaret Thatchers of the world.
The Margaret Thatcher of the world.
Yeah.
They were. It was like they almost envisioned their life and they lived it that way.
Well, that's totally inspiring, and that's what, if anything, I hope that anyone who watches this, I hope it gets them to think about life and how much time we have left.
Words have power. Your thoughts have power. And everything you put out there, like you say, I think a popular word we use now is this word vibes. The vibes. Yeah,
the vibes. Yes, your vibe attracts your tribe.
It's so true.
But what does that really mean? When I think about your vibe attracts your tribe, the energy that you're putting out there in the world.
Put it to the side. I'm a man of science, and I believe in science. Human beings, just like the Matrix says, we are little batteries. We are little electrochemical batteries. We have electrolytes with us, sodium, potassium changes and whatnot. There's electricity that runs in us.
I'm not thinking about the energy that we're actually putting out.
No. Hold on. Let me finish this. So there's energy. Okay. We have energy. There's energy in our brain.
Totally.
You think about the neurons, the synapses. There's literally electric sparks between the synapses that are electrochemical. By the chemicals being released between the synapses, they cause a snap of almost like a spark plug to happen, and the signals get connected. And if you study enough chemistry or electrical engineering or physics, what do you know about energy? Energy creates frequencies.
Okay.
Frequencies. Radio frequencies and whatnot. Mm-hmm. You're creating frequencies. And so why is it when you're in a good mood and the energy that you have in your head, this little battery that you're in a good mood, you're creating these frequencies. What's a frequency? It's like a vibe. You think about what's a vibe? A vibe's like you're creating a vibe, and when you have a certain vibe, people are attracted to that vibe.
Absolutely.
So it
kind of reminds me of a situation, and I'll always remember this. And this is where I started to realize that, yes, the power of positive thinking, it actually makes a difference. Because if you're a person, and I'll always remember this, there was a conversation. It was last year. It was November, December. I was totally in a negative headspace. And we were talking.
I couldn't imagine you in a negative headspace tonight. I couldn't imagine.
I was like, F this. I'm not even going to say the F word.
Whoa.
I was like, F this, F that.
Whoa.
And I was just I'm so done. I'm just, just hating everything.
Again, I can't imagine you hating everything. You're the most non-hateful person.
Right. But I was having a totally bad day, which everyone does. Everyone has these bad days.
Can't imagine you had a bad day.
And I just remember just venting. And then just thinking in my mind, that whole term, energy vampire. If you go into a room where people are just super negative and then you're listening to everything, they suck. They suck all of your energy out of you. Right. And you walk out so tired and drained.
You're a battery full of energy, and you have all these these batteries that are negative. They have low energy, and they just draw it from you.
They took it, and I felt like by me unleashing my bad vibes, a bad conversation, with you for like an hour or God knows how long this was. And I felt so bad. And I realized, I was like, oh my God, this is where I became self-aware. I'm like, I was...
That sounds like a term from the Matrix.
Oh my God, I became so...
Jeanette took the red pill and she became self-aware.
I did. And that was the most self-aware I've ever become. I was like, oh my God, my poor friend, we're talking and then all of a sudden I'm like, la 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 la, and then he was all like, okay, well, bye. I remember, like, I am so sorry. I was like an energy vampire. Ugh. And I am so sorry, like, and it made me realize, it's like, it is very draining because I've been in that situation.
You know what's funny?
I remember that. For me, it's a turning point.
I don't know if you've noticed about me. When I talk to people, though, there gets the moment when I'm done. Like, sometimes I talk to people, and we're talking, and there comes to a moment in our conversation over the, like, however much time's gone by, and I feel like I'm just done.
I can't do it.
I was like, I've got to go. I've got to hang up. I've got to go. And it's weird because I do feel like I have a lot of energy.
Yeah, and you're a very energetic. Oh wow, I'm like very energetic.
Jazz hands.
Jazz hands. So like oh my gosh, that's how much vodka just happened. So. Whoa, I know. So
hey, don't fall off your stool.
No, totally, I won't. I really won't. I'm holding on tight.
But it's funny though, like thinking of that, like I don't think people intend to be energy vampires. You're a charged up battery. And so when you talk to people, like when I talk to people, there always comes a point when I feel like I'm done, and it's like maybe people don't intend to be energy vampires. Maybe they don't know they're doing that, but sometimes they are, and you're like, you try to help them, give them information, converse, and then it just gets to that moment of like, I've got to disengage. I am done.
Well, because they're going to drain you from everything. And your life source. It's like, oh my God.
Oh, Jeanette.
What?
I'm going to go out into left field here.
Oh, okay.
Talking about
energies and all that.
Going out into...
Yeah, we still are. Yeah.
No, going out, talking about energies and just all this stuff that you can't see and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. But do you remember our very first podcast?
Oh yes.
We were like, we had to preface that first podcast that we were not like ghost hunters, and this is not a paranormal podcast and all that.
Our ghost hunting.
Yeah.
Oh, are we going back to that? Is there an update?
Yeah. You just. I'm sorry. Bum, 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 bum.
Okay, so what is the
I'm sorry. I don't mean to like go off in the left field, but you brought this out. So we have this little old cleaning lady.
Okay.
And one day she pulls me aside, and I don't know if I told you this yet.
I think you may have, but I think no one else knows it.
So she pulls me aside. My staff's like, hey, the clean lady wants to talk to you. It's really important. So I finally go and talk to her. And, she's telling me in Spanish. And for some reason, these stories, when like you have a little old lady telling you Spanish, it's just like that much more enthralling and impactful. It's like...
And not only that...
It's like an old... It's like a Mexican telenovela. You're just like, ay, Dios de mi vida. Yes. And...
No, es mi culpa.
Ay, Dios. Sana, cola de rana. And she's telling me this, and she's like, she's clean. Oh, she has 2 stories to tell me.
Okay, so the first one is...
I'll tell you the first one second. I'll tell you the second one.
Okay.
The second one just happened like a week or 2 ago. And she says, nobody was here in the building. I'm like, okay. It goes, and you guys had brought donuts. And I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, the insurance guy came and brought us donuts. She goes, so, I asked, one of the girls before they left, hey, can anybody get a donut? They're like... oh, see, sure, go get a donut. There's little plates there. Just go ahead and donut. Go get your donut or whatever. And she said she was so happy. She got her donut. She took a bite of it. She put it on the plate and she left it on the little table. And she went to go clean the other part of the building. She said everybody left. And she goes back to the kitchen because she goes, ay, me antojó la dona. Estaba tan rico. She was craving it again after she cleaned the other part of the building. She says she goes to the kitchen and she said the plate, the donut, everything gone. And she said she went looking all over the building for it. She's like, but I know I left it in the kitchen. And she goes, it was gone. And she goes, and with everything that's happened to her, she's like, okay, I'm done. Put things away.
So she's already experienced some unexplained situations in your building because.
So the first experience.
So did we confirm that anyone threw her donut away?
The people that were that told me about it also said that they all said like we all left and she I mean they're all just confirming it, but she said it was gone and she was the last one there. She set the alarm and left afterward. So the story before that though, the first story, which happened like 2-3 weeks beforehand. She said she was coming around to my office or she was cleaning down the hall or something, and she turned around and to go to my office. And as she faced my office, she said she saw a woman dressed in all white. All white, and she was very clear. She said the bottom of the dress was jagged because the bottom of the dress was red flowers.
Oh, weird.
And as that woman walked out, she just walked out of my office and went through a wall.
Was it the wall that went down to the basement?
No, because, well, yeah, that wall, but the basement's over here and here's my wall.
Okay.
So there's not like you come out of my office, there's the basement. No. There's like a wall there.
Okay, and that goes against everything that we were talking about in the first episode because we thought it was the owner.
Yeah.
So who is this? Who is this woman?
I don't know. So, and then just like 2 days ago.
There's more.
There's more.
Oh my God, I'm so excited. What
have you ever heard like when you see paranormal activity, a lot of times you catch it from the peripherals of your eyes?
Yes.
There's something about that.
Yeah.
You catch it on the peripherals. I'm working away at my desk and my door's to my left. And I'm working away. I see something like curtains, like just blowing in the wind right here. And just kind of go past me like that in the hall. And I remember like just stopping, like looking, and nothing was there. And if I was that little Mexican lady, I'd be, ay Dios de mi vida. I'd run a church. I'd say 10 Hail Marys. I'd be like putting my donuts away. I'd be freaking out. And I remember just sitting there and I leaned back in my chair and I just started laughing.
Oh my gosh.
And I was like, wow. Wow, she didn't want me to see her, but she wanted me to know she was there. That's all I could think. That's all I could think. But I just saw it in the corner of my eyes, and then this lady that I work with walks in, and I'm just like sitting there laughing, and I'm looking at the door, and she when she walks, she goes, "What?" And I just looked at her. She goes, "What?" And I thought I saw something walk by like curtains in the wind, and she goes, "Oh." And she goes, maybe it was like a paper out in the hall or on the wall or something. She goes, walks out there and goes, there's no papers pinned on the wall. There's no draft of air. There's no wind that makes something go. I just got a kick out of it.
How exciting, though.
It was exciting to me.
So this is what's really exciting about this whole thing is that we started off with this paranormal
experiences.
And it's going to continue probably for the next few podcasts because there's going to be updates. So now you're going to have to do the legwork. Who is this lady?
I don't know.
In your office.
So, whether people believe or not believe, or people know the history of not, depending on where they're at. I mean, the United States as a whole is a very ancient land. It is. It's a very ancient land.
Yeah, a lot
New
of
Mexico, in particular, is very ancient. Like they say, I mentioned this before, the Clovis culture and all that. Those fragments from the Clovis culture were found in New Mexico. That hence the name Clovis. We have Clovis, New Mexico, and people inhabited this part of the true world for lots of times. I don't know if you know. Do you know like the Aztecs, Tenochtitlan? Do you know where they came from? They came from a land called Aztlan, which was north of Mexico. What's north of Mexico? New Mexico, Arizona. Yeah. Mm-hmm. There were a wandering tribe of people that went down to Mexico and settled there in Mexico City. Back then, calling it Tenochtitlan. It's called the Aztlan of Aztlan. This is called Aztlan. It's hundreds of years old. There's been hundreds of people here. The Mesilla Valley, the river runs through here. Wherever there's water, you have people, civilizations, and all that. So it's a very ancient land.
Yeah.
Who knows? Who knows, right? It's really interesting.
I am almost kind of thinking we need to have a follow-up. I think we need to have a follow-up show.
Well, what's curious is a coworker of mine saged the office. Oh. The banging went away.
Just so you know, FYI.
Give me your FYI, Jeanette.
Okay, FYI.
Jeanette, FYI me. Do it.
With the old building, the current building that I'm at, but we're not there together. But the current building that I'm at, when I moved into my office, because of the activity that was in my office, I had a pastor go in and bless it.
Really?
Yeah, because of the former manager was saying all of these weird things were happening in that office. Like, he would lock the door and he'd come back, things would be knocked over, it would be a mess.
Wow.
So when I took that position, I had a pastor come in and bless the office, and we prayed, and
that's curious.
And I never had those experiences.
What a
I've had some trickery. Maybe one time a trickery.
Somebody was messing with you?
Yeah, like my USB was missing from my mouse, but it's so funny because like my mouse didn't work one day, and then I was like, what the heck? So I went to the back of my computer, and it was gone. The USB was gone. I was like, jerk. I'm like, son of a gun, like what the hell? And then I took a picture of it, and then I had another person like, hey, do you see the little USB connection to my wireless mouse? Mm-hmm. Like, be a witness.
It's that little USB Bluetooth attachment that you plug in that lets your mouse work by USB,
And I was like, be a witness. I have a feeling this thing is going to come back. But it was interesting because, like, my office was locked.
Wow.
So, so of course, someone either had a key.
That would be me.
On me, which
that would be me.
But it wasn't even during the time that you were there, so it could have.
So
I had to eliminate.
I wish it was me.
It could have been you.
Could have been me. I was projecting.
But no.
So, in high school,
it reappeared.
There was a man named Warren Cupp, big man, big old white man. He always wore gloves. Sweetheart of a man, kind of a big teddy bear. He was an old man. He's already passed away. God rest his soul. But Warren Cupp, Mr. Cupp, and I'll never forget. He saved a volume of books called "How Green Was My Valley," and it was a good book. I really got into it. I learned a lot from him in that book. "How Green Was My Valley," and about a kid, Welsh, the mines, people dying, just growing to adulthood. Really good book, and one of those books that they don't teach in school no more. But "How Green Was My Valley."
How fun!
But one day it was talking about like things like because you say trickery, right?
Yeah, trickery.
Talks about like things in life, like good luck charms and all that. And he's talked about how like you always have good luck when you find a penny with its heads up.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, we've all heard that.
Yeah.
If you find a penny and its heads up, it's good luck.
Yeah.
So we started we were a bunch of shits. The people in my class, the guys would get a penny, they'd put it heads up and they'd slide it underneath the door where he would find it eventually. In Mr. Cupp, he was so awesome. He'd always eat a sandwich every day. He'd fall asleep at his desk.
Aww.
And sometimes I remember one student even said he's like, oh, that Twinkie looks good. And he'd be like, oh, here, he could have the other one. He had a story once where there was a cheerleader trying to lose weight, and he would sell donuts for some fundraiser. And she'd be like, he said, this cheerleader wanted the donut so bad. And he said, no. These are healthy donuts. Remember what your science teacher says about when you heat things up and all the calories and all the molecules condense in the middle? He goes, well, these donuts, they heat them up and they cut the middle out so all the calories would come out of them.
Oh, my goodness.
And he got her to buy like 3 of them, and she ate them all happy as could be because he wanted her to lose weight. Or she thought she was going to lose weight. He just wanted her to be happy. That's the kind of guy he was. He had an interesting experience. I'll tell you in a minute. But we were always sliding pennies under his door. And he says, I found a penny, and on the way home, I found $20 for gas. And he's like, it was just so great. And,
oh, my God. It's that self-fulfilled prophecy right there.
So maybe like a month later, we were doing this all the time. Maybe like a month later or so, he says, well, me and my wife were trying to, save money for retirement and something about free financing. I don't remember the whole story, but it had to do with money. And he's like, the whole thing about this pennies with the heads up. He goes, it's amazing. And we're all just listening, and he's telling us a story. We didn't know if we were going to have enough money set aside for the house payment. We needed this much money. And he says, man, I found a penny with a heads up. And we were all half snickering. We're like, and he says, I picked up that penny, and I thought, man, it's going to be a good day. And like I say, big guy, a little pot belly, like not big, but a big guy. And he's just a really kind smile. And he says, I just knew it was going to be a good day. He said, I found that penny up, and me and my wife were worried about money and all that. And I didn't, he's like, I don't know, just something was good because it's going to come out of this. He said, we got a check in the mail from such and such that we didn't know existed, that they owed us money. And it was more than enough money to cover our house payment. And he says, my lucky penny. And I remember just sitting there just thinking, I don't know about everybody else because we were a bunch of little jerks, but I remember just thinking like, what just happened? We were trying to be like little tricksters, throw these pennies because he talked about it. And it happened and I was like,
but did he catch on to you all, or was it
I don't know, maybe he did.
And maybe he did, honestly, it doesn't even matter at this point.
It didn't even matter though, because he always related to something and then this happened, and then that happened, and you're like...
And I'm sure at that point, he already had you guys engaged. Oh my God. So maybe in a sense, it was helping you guys.
He was a fascinating guy. Talk about not knowing people's stories, right? Mm-hmm. He grew up in New Mexico. We knew when he was older, man. He always wore gloves. He always wore cotton gloves because his nerve endings in his hands were shot.
Oh.
So he had to wear gloves all the time. And it was always kind of a thing until you took his class, until you knew. You always everybody kind of like, oh, there's that old man again wearing those funny gloves and da da da. And then one day he was telling us about it. Told us a lot about himself. So he grew up in New Mexico, and he used to work in potash mines. He said he did that for many years. And like I say, big man. Even as an old man, when you get old, you get smaller. He was still 6'5", and he still had a big size about him. So you could imagine in his 20s, he was probably like a monster of a man, but always had that demeanor of a gentle giant. He said, walking into a mine, there was a cave-in, and the mines came down. And he said the draft of the mine collapsing created a gush of wind that blew him out of the mine. Oh. And there's overhead beams. And he flew out of the mine, and his head hit the beam, breaking it above him as the mine collapsed, and it threw him 20, 30, 40 feet back. And they found him, and he had a broken neck. And he was such a big and strong man, and he had such big muscles in his neck that it held his neck into place.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's really he always had stories like that. And you're like, what?
I wonder. It's it makes me remember that one movie, Big Fish.
Yeah.
The Tall Tales.
Yeah.
I did have just, and this is so.
Go ahead, because there's another story about
okay,
Mr. Cup.
Well, I did have a social studies teacher when I was in the 6th grade, mm-hmm. And I always remembered him because he had super white hair, and he told the class that he remembers, and it wasn't until something I learned later in college, but he told me that there was a day where he woke up and the sun rose, mm-hmm. And it was not the time that the sun was supposed to rise, mm-hmm. And then later on the sun rose, and that he remembers that was when they did the testing for the atomic bomb in White Sands. He remembers the memory of the sun rising twice. And I read the book later on in college.
And that's how they described it.
The day the sun rose twice here in New Mexico. And being from where
we're from.
Yeah.
It's not that far away.
It's not that far away. So he remembers that as a memory.
Wow. That
he saw it. It really did light up the sky so bright that the sun did rise twice. Wow. And I never forgot that. And then I never exactly knew what it meant because I was in the 6th grade.
Yeah.
And his hair was white. And he's like, yeah, that's right. My hair turned white. Of course, his hair didn't turn white that way. But Maybe it did.
Maybe it did. Radiation.
Maybe it did. Who knows?
Right.
But it wasn't until I always remembered that story because he was always such a fun, trying to make history or
interesting.
It's making courses sound interesting, and even in the 6th grade, I remember that clearly. Well, and then it wasn't until I read the book.
You're like, oh,
holy crap, I remembered it clearly.
Have happened.
I was like, I remember him telling us that.
Kind of, I think of the name of Japan, the land of the rising sun.
Mm-hmm.
And then you think about the atomic bomb, like the sun rising. Like, goes hand in hand.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? As terrible as it was. No, so Mr. Warren Cup, an amazing man, very unassuming man, very gentle, very kind. We only knew him as an old man, and like I say, he's already passed away, but always wore these cotton gloves. And, one day he takes them off and he's explaining to him, he goes, well, my nerve endings are shot. And I have to wear these because I know people make fun of me of always having to wear these cotton gloves. Just like basic utility gloves you get at the convenience store,
Yeah.
And he says, well, it happened in front of everybody. It was like the newspapers documented, but there was an accident. Not really an accident. He said there was a truck, and I don't remember if it was his or if it belonged to somebody, but it was a truck that when you put it in park, it was like an old Ford pickup or something, and it was notoriously known for popping out of park into neutral.
Oh.
And he was at a diner that he went to that he said the driveway was kind of slanted and the road was kind of at an angle like this. I don't know where in town it was, but he said he was outside and he was looking at the truck and it started rolling backwards. And he saw a little girl on the sidewalk.
Oh, no.
And he ran to shove the girl out of the way. And the truck literally ran him over. But then it hit the street and it came back down and it stopped on top of him. He said the wheel was on top of him. And he said, it's one of these moments, there's moments where things happen to people and something comes over them that they do something that they would never do. Like superhuman. I mean, for lack of a better word, very superhuman. And it's stories all around the world, different people, but it happened. He had his moment. Vehicle stopped on him. And at that moment, he knew he was going to die. And he said he pressed against the truck and he lifted the truck up off of him. Put it down. And he said there were people all around. People saw this happen. People said that were, the reporters, because it's a small town, big event. Said they interviewed people and everybody said that they saw it happen. They saw him lift it up and he picked up the truck and moved it right here, right next to him. And they got him out when the paramedics got there. And as a result of that, whatever that was, that summoned the force for him to be able to save his own life, it also damaged all the nerve endings in his hand.
Oh, how interesting to see if that really was what happened, or.
I mean, according to him, there's people that were interviewed, people that saw it happen, eyewitnesses and everything, and that he saved that little girl's life, but he also saved his own life in that moment. And it's funny because you can look it up on the internet. There's stories of people that do feats of superhuman strength at the moment that it's required.
I almost kind of don't even want to look up to see if it happened to your teacher, because honestly, I like the story
so much
that I don't even want to tarnish the idea.
And it's a guy
with
it. And that's only 2 stories.
Yeah.
Because what's funny is people that have 1 or 2 stories like that usually have dozens and dozens. Do you know what I mean? We don't know. He could have fought in the war. He may have had crazy experiences in the war. Who knows? He lived through the very exciting times. He was already very old in the 90s. Cuban Missile Crisis, Vietnam, Korea, World War II, all the riots, everything that's going on. You just don't know what he's gone through, but you do know there's these 2 amazing stories that did happen to him where he survived. One of them caused his hands to go, nerve endings to go shot on him, but fascinating. And again, you can look these things up online, and there's always stories of people that in a life or death situation, they do something that would
be like very very superhuman.
I played rugby with this guy. Really cool guy. His last year was my first year, and I mean, I played rugby, and it was in a newspaper. I'll never forget this, and they shared it on Facebook. He lives like somewhere in Texas now, Dallas or something, like one of the big cities, and there's a fire in a big building, multi-story building, and there was a kid in the building. This guy's Michael Benting. And there was a kid in the building, and I mean kid, it might have been a toddler. I don't know the details, but like a baby. And apparently, when the building was on fire, like this, somebody was trying to get their children out of the building on a very high floor, and she tossed her baby out the window. And like the comment on the article was, former rugby player makes a rugby catch. Goes out there, sees the baby coming, catches the baby. Baby's unharmed.
Oh my gosh.
Like, that one may not have been superhuman strength, but you think about how hard would it be to catch a child launched from a 4th, 5th, 6th-story building.
Well, it's you can't mess up.
You can't mess up.
I mean, this is not a pigskin.
It's not a pigskin.
Yeah,
if you catch it just wrong, bah!
Yeah, you can't mess up. Like, you got.
My bad, I missed, man. Can I get a redo?
I know, right? There's no.
Catches the child.
Oh my gosh.
So, I mean, things like that still happen. You just, amongst all the nonsense of the world, all the craziness of Afghanistan, the Middle East, China, and everything, you still, there's still miracles happening. And it's funny because in the Christian world, Catholicism and all that, you talk about the miracles of the Bible and all that. Oh, you read in the Bible on Jesus, and you hear about all these miracles that happened thousands of years ago, and you don't hear them happening anymore. I don't know.
I don't know if that's necessarily true. I think miracles happen all the freaking time.
You just don't see them.
We just don't see them. They happen all the time.
They do. I mean, the fact that somebody can catch a kid thrown out of a 4th or 5th-story building, I mean, how fragile is a child?
That kid,
you know what I mean?
That kid would have hit the ground. That kid would not be here today.
God. Well, even if you would have caught it wrong, head, neck snapped. I mean, you can't deny the fact that it is kind of up there in the realm of like that was a miracle. Right place, right time, caught the child.
Caught the baby.
An epic moment in time, and again, you hear about all the craziness in the world, gun laws, rioting, Democrats, Republicans, China, violence in Mexico. I think it happens. We just don't see it because we're still caught up in all the craziness of the world.
All right, so we need something because I know that we need something to kind of wrap this up.
We were all over the place.
I know we were. This time we really, really were.
We really were.
I know I enjoyed it because honestly, you know what I do like about this is that we are going to have to circle back to our first episode. So, I mean, this is kind of funny. It's kind of like, all right, Super League update, first episode. It came out.
The mystery still continues.
Yeah, the mystery still continues. So it's still out there. And I cannot promise that it won't come up again. It might come up again.
I think we have to do like an episode again where we go remote.
And
it doesn't have to be there.
Go back. I kind of want to go back. Do you want to go back?
It's not the same though. Ever since they smudged the building, it's funny because like you hear about people like smudging with sage.
Yeah.
And this girl smudged the building. And she had like little cones of sage. It wasn't like the big bundle of sage. It was like a cone.
Okay. And
she was walking around with a little plate. And as she was smudging the building, the sage was like dancing around on the plate. Like it was like she had a plate with the sage. And I was watching this. I wouldn't have believed it. And the thing just starts doing this on the plate. And I'm watching her hold it with two hands. And I'm looking at her hands. I'm like, you're doing that. But it was like legit going like this. And I'm like, and I was like, God, and then some other stuff happened after that related to that.
So then we just maybe need more updates on this.
Maybe more updates. Maybe we go to somewhere else.
Maybe as a follow-up because there's a lot of cool things like that happen here in the city.
Right.
So I think we need to do a follow-up episode. So
maybe like another paranormal episode.
Oh. And maybe this time we can actually talk about or have our friend be a part of that.
If you want to.
I think it'd be fun. Anyway, so how
excited. So we'll do an update on that. Yeah, that'll be fun.
Yeah, that'd be fun. I don't know if he'll come join us, but he might.
Yeah.
If you want to join us,
we have people that want to be on, but
other people. Okay, so we need to circle back on that.
But the whole initial topic of this podcast was manifestations, the power of words, intentions, and your thought process.
Absolutely.
And it's funny that led us down so many paths. And it's funny because as I was recounting the things that my father even told me as a kid, words have power. So how funny the words that he empowered upon me made an impact on me. So what you say, the way the words that you say, how they impact your life and the lives of the people around you. We don't think about the words we say when we're mad, when we're angry, when we're happy, how they impact everyone around us.
That's a really good point.
Right?
And I was telling you about like being an energy vampire. Like honestly, if there's a takeaway here, like seriously, like once you start to become self-aware, and I feel like
it's the red pill, right? You take the red pill to become aware.
If you become self-aware of the energy that you're putting out there. Because I was telling you that one profound moment I had with you, once you become self-aware, I think that you might make a conscious choice to like stop or think in a different way. And when you start to do that, I really feel like it can make an impact on your life. And I feel like good things are always going to happen. Is it perfect? No, I think it takes practice.
Right.
Honestly, this is something that's always going to take practice. But once you can master it and practice, I think that it's very beneficial to your life, not only professionally, but personally.
Okay, so it is a red pill.
It is a red pill.
It is a red pill. I always have to look that up. I always have to, because there's the hardcore fans from the Matrix.
Pill, is it okay? So the blue pill is like the safe pill.
Here's a definition. It says the blue pill. The blue pill describes a continuity of the current state of life. An example: living life without knowing its meaning or running away from the truth in order to stay as is. In the movie, Morpheus, a major character, describes it as waking up in bed without caring for your destiny or such profound ideas. The red pill is described as a solution for knowing the real truth of life. Morpheus explains it as a continuing into the rabbit hole, or in other words, continuing to learn about the lies that were set in the world in order to break then and attain freedom. So taking the red pill.
The red pill.
The red pill.
I feel like there's a theme with the red pill here.
Matrix 4 is coming out this year.
Oh, I can't wait. Okay, I'm going to nerd out right now. I cannot wait.
I was reading about it that the trailer is not out yet, but there's a Matrix 4 and it's supposed to come out in December.
Oh, so close, people. So close.
Ooh, The Matrix 4 Resurrections, all 4 teaser trailers. Oh, apparently there are trailers. We're going to watch it afterwards. Because we can't play because copywriting and things all will get flagged.
So, if anything, guys, please watch it.
Look up the trailer for Matrix 4.
Because if anything, we keep talking about the damn red pill, right?
Right. And there's supposed to be some good actors in it, too. I mean, Keanu Reeves, Carrie-Anne Moss is coming back as Trinity.
Keanu Reeves has to be in it. If he didn't, I would be
Neil Patrick Harris is going to be in it.
I love it.
Yeah, I mean, that alone. Done.
Oh my goodness.
Done. Barney from
How
I Met Your Mother. He's going to be in the Matrix. I don't know any of these other people.
Who cares? Yeah. Let's watch this.
Neil Patrick Harris is in the Matrix 4 with Keanu Reeves and Carrie-Anne Moss. Carrie-Anne Moss, she has this whole thing about meditations now. The ex used to listen to her. And she has this thing you subscribe to online. And she does yoga and meditations and mantras and all that. Yeah. So something about the Matrix really took her life in a whole new direction.
Well, sometimes when you expand your mind to think that of other possibilities, I think that maybe it can open up your eyes. If anything, how are we going to wrap this up, friend?
So,
I mean, we've been all over the place, and
the red pill.
Honestly, we took
a dose of the red pill.
We took the dose of the red pill, but it's been fun. Honestly, I've had a really good conversation. It's been fun. I've enjoyed this podcast
I feel like we barely scratched the surface on manifesting, though, because we went in so many directions.
Yeah, it might have to be something we come back to.
This whole idea of manifesting good intentions, manifesting your future. We should tell people what happened. The reversed, what do you call it? The reverse manifestation?
Oh, the self-fulfilled prophecy.
Self-fulfilled prophecy. So I had an event that happened this past week.
Self-fulfilled, yes.
Yeah, so, I have this ex-girlfriend. I haven't seen her since we broke up. Clean break. Whatever.
Standard stuff.
Whatever. Standard stuff. Yeah, it is what it is.
Sign the contract.
Old day. Yeah, it is.
Sign the contract.
Yeah. Well, so, in my mind, so we go to the same gym.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
How we met, right?
Yeah.
So, I was thinking in my mind, I was like, man, I don't want to see her. Not that she's a bad person. I'm not saying anybody's a bad person. I just didn't want to, have the run-in and all that awkwardness. And I kept thinking, like, God, if she comes into my gym, I'm just going to quietly get my stuff and leave. That's what I've been telling myself. I was like, God. And for some reason, about 2 weeks ago, it was really in my mind. It was like, yeah, if I see her, I'm going to leave. Oh, God. And then so much so on my mind that I started thinking like, oh, I need to stop thinking about that.
Oh.
But then on Labor Day, I go to the gym because we had a class like at 10 in the morning and all that. And go to the bathroom. And it could be because there was only one gym class that day. I don't believe in coincidence. I believe in this whole synchronicity that things happen for a reason. Mm-hmm. But get out of the bathroom, say hi to my friends. They're like, hey, what's up, Mark? And I feel like Norm from Cheers. Like, Norm, hey. And I put my bag down and they're saying what's up to the guys. They're warming up on the bikes, these Airdyne bikes. And from the back of the gym, I always kind of scan the gym floor, just want to see who's there. And I was like, who's that? Instantly, I recognize that person. Yeah. You
didn't want to have the awkward encounter.
Nope.
How are you?
Nope. No. And so I quietly I was in the back of the gym, went to the bikes, said hey to my buddies on the bikes, went back, got my bag, and said, you know what, guys, I gotta go. Something just came up. And one of my buddies there, he's a cop, and he may or may not know, but he goes, yeah, everything good? They're like, no, everything's great, man. I gotta go. Something I just forgot. I left the water boiling on the stove. I gotta turn the stove off.
Oh no!
Oh man, I left the lights on.
The dog is outside suffering.
The dog's outside suffering. I must have told him like 3 different excuses. Gotta go, dude. Like, gotta go. And I left. And you saying self-fulfilling prophecy, and I think
I had that. I was thinking about it after you left. I mean, after you had the conversation, I was thinking about it. I'm like, is it reverse manifestation there? And then it was like, ding, self-fulfilled prophecy. That's exactly what that is when you have that.
Well, I have this friend. I have a friend.
That's exactly.
I said hi to my friend there at the gym on Labor Day in the morning, and I saw him the next day at the gym on Tuesday, and he was at the 5:30 class. I gave him the 6:30 class, and he just wrapped it up, and I was tying my shoelace or something. He comes up to me, he goes, hey, Mark. I go, yeah. He goes, this is weird, but did I dream that you stopped by yesterday? He goes, I could have swear you were at the gym, and then like I turned and looked, and you were gone. Your stuff was gone. He goes, I don't know. I thought I saw you yesterday, and it's driving me crazy. I feel like I'm nuts. Did I see you or did I dream it? And I was like, I just started laughing. Go, yeah, something came up, dude. I stopped by and I had to go turn the stove off at the house. I had to leave, and he goes, it's been bothering me all day. I knew I saw you, and then the coach, the CrossFit instructor, he looked at me and goes, yeah, I saw you, and I was like, yeah, something came up, dude. And he goes, something came up. I go, and I was
like, because they know you.
You go.
And they probably put 2 and 2 together. I was like,
something came up, bro. And he goes, okay. And I had to go. He goes, yeah, I understand.
Self-fulfilled prophecy.
Interesting. And what's curious about that, you can say this is manifestations or not. I pray and I meditate a lot. I'm this wild guy. Woo! Yeah!
No, but I know you do.
Beer hose and good times. Let the good times roll. Boats and hoes.
Boats and hoes.
But I really like I have my moments where I say my prayers and I get deep in thought. And I was even reading this article about successful people that the first 5 minutes of their day they meditate just to set the tone of the day, which I really like. But I do a lot of that, and I put a lot of intentions out.
Yeah.
Really focus, like really visualize it. I really visualize it, and it got me thinking, like, what's next?
I think that's great.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
no.
What's next? Like,
I like it.
I've been really praying and meditating a lot on things, and
I like it.
And like I say, just left me after that happened. It's like, if I did that, what's next?
And we just like unleashed unknown power to all of our viewers. Oh my goodness.
It's possible.
Use it for good, not evil.
That's the thing. I think that's the thing. It's possible.
It is possible.
Even if you believe in it in just a shred, just an ounce, and you think it's possible, then cling on to that, like the balloon that's slipping away, and you hold on to the string, and you're holding at the very end. Hold on to it, and you know what? If you can dream it, and you can visualize it, and you can manifest it, hold on to that dream, because you can make it happening. You can make it happen. Visualize it, see it. And you know what? You're gonna have to put some of the work in, because I think there's a work component that's not talked about.
No, you have to. But your mindset has to change in order for you to make the work happen.
Say.
Yeah. I mean, and then all of a sudden you should be inspired. Like, the things that you want to change should be on the things that you visualize. So you're visualizing something. So yes, you want to be like a business owner. Well, what is it going to take to be a business owner? Do you need to wake up early? Do you need to apply for a loan? Do you need to take that leap? So it has to be important enough for you to do that.
I think about...
You have to do it.
I always think about the historical context. It's just, Mark, they...
Well, because you love history, and I like the history aspect.
I think about the American Revolution, the idea of America. 13% of the population believed in the idea of America, and they fought and they gave their lives. And when they were at Valley Forge, and they were at Trenton, and when they defeated the Germans, they crossed the Delaware. It was that many Americans who probably were not soldiers. They were just people that believed that, we should be free. But they had this idea of what our country can be. And they held on to it for, 4 or 6 grueling years. They didn't have food. They didn't have enough munitions. They never had enough manpower. But they held on to the idea. And they overcame the greatest empire on the world. Britain. The sun never set on Britain.
And that is
red coats.
So beautiful that the way our country was formed. The fact that
I've been thinking about the Alamo lately.
Oh, have you?
Remember the Alamo?
Yes.
The other night I was up to 3 a.m. and I watched 3 or 4 different variations of the Alamo.
How fun!
And then after that, I had to look everything up. I
was so obsessed with after I came back from Dallas and going to the Texas school book. I always get the 6th floor museum. I always say it just because I always get everything all messed up. Yeah. So I was so obsessed with that, and
you're an obsessive person.
I was, and I did, but and then I watched a movie with I loved it. It was Natalie Portman. She was
she's such a sweetheart.
She was this seems off topic, but she was Jackie Kennedy, and it was about
she'd be a good Jackie Kennedy.
Yeah, she was, and it was about what happened the day of the assassination and then the hours leading after.
Wow,
it was very powerful. Anyway, so I keep bringing this up. I need to go to another museum so I can bring up another stuff. But it was very cool. It was very cool. But the Alamo, you're obsessed with this too. So
and again, it's
current obsessions.
It's a group of people, of people from all over the United States, from Tennessee, from Alabama, and they actually had the roll call of people that were there in the Alamo. People from all over the world. There was people from Scotland, from England, from Ireland. There was Mexicans. There was people from like the Balkans. There's just people from all over the world, and then there's Texans were Americans, so there's just such a hodgepodge of people with this and it's very controversial. Did they know that what they were doing? Was it like, oh shit, we're in a bad situation now? Like there's a couple. I read a couple of different things. Like, yes, they knew. There came a point where they knew that was a hopeless situation, but they had to do it to buy time for Sam Houston and the rest of the army. There was, maybe there was another thing I read that they knew they were in a bad situation. They were trying to get out of it, but the Mexicans were so committed to it to make a point. But this idea that, you know what, we're not the United States, but we're not Mexico, we're Texas, and Texas means something because it is the land of the free. And I love that about Texas. Texas is such a pain in the ass. It's the biggest state in the union. It takes forever to drive across Texas.
It's like its own country.
It's like its own country. They have their own power grid.
They do.
Which
is kind of kicked them in the ass during this last winter.
Right, but this concept of Texas and what makes it great, like, did these guys know that they were like the tip of the spear, where they were that ember that was going to cause this fire to become an inferno, to become what it was? Did they know? And
no one ever really knows.
No
one ever really knows.
And you know what's interesting about the movies about the Texas, the Alamo? There's many different versions of the Alamo.
I'm gonna have to start watching all of these
there's the Disney one where it shows Davy Crockett swinging his musket away, and at the Mexicans before he falls. There's another version that came out in the 70s where every time somebody got shot, they kind of went like this, but it never showed blood. There was an older version. There's a John Wayne version. That was a pretty good version. Now, John Wayne version.
So, if there's a recommendation, which one would you do?
Okay, I like the John Wayne version.
Okay.
Because John Wayne version is the very idealist version.
Okay.
He has that talk with that Mexican woman that like is in love with him, and he makes that great speech. Oh, he makes a great speech.
You can't play it.
No, I can't play it.
Darn it.
John Wayne.
Can't play it. Can't play it.
Alamo speech. He makes a great speech about. It is a great speech. Let me see here. The Republic speech. John Wayne said. So okay, because it's on Facebook. I have to log in. Is it on here? He says Republic. I like the sound of the word. It means people can live free, talk free, go or come, buy or sell, be drunk or sober, however they choose. Some words give you a feeling. Republic is one of the words that make me tighten the throat. The same tightness a man gets when his baby takes his first step or his baby shaves and makes his first sound like a man. Some words give you the feeling that make your heart warm. Republic is one of those words. And it's a very idealistic movie, and it has General Travis as a very slick looking guy, and his hat fits just right, and he's dressed as a soldier. Very idealistic, and I think if you want to watch anything about the Alamo, you have to watch the John Wayne version.
Right.
But the last version that came out was Billy Bob Thornton.
Oh yeah.
Is it Billy Bob? No, I think his name.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that one's interesting.
I'll have to check that one. And that one is.
Is it Billy Bob that's in that one?
I don't know, but we're gonna have to wrap this one up. Just because I'm saying, you know why I'm saying this, and this is something actually one of my. Someone who watches our podcast asked me, with all that alcohol that you all drink in 2 hours, how does anyone not have to go pee?
I don't know, because it's very compelling.
This is my moment. I'm sorry.
Okay. The last version of the Alamo, and we won't take it too long.
Okay.
It came out in 2000 something, and it has who are the main? Billy Bob Thornton, Dennis Quaid. Yeah, were they in it? Was Dennis Quaid in it? Yeah, he's the one that plays Sam Houston. Dennis Quaid, that's right. Patrick Wilson did a great job as William Travis. So, the last Alamo.
I seriously cannot wait.
Okay, we're gonna pause.
Yeah, crickets. You're
gonna hear crickets for like a second while Jeanette does her business.
Yeah, because seriously, this is actually a real life situation.
Okay.
Which actually,
I'm gonna freeze until you go. All right, and go.
Okay. Seriously, my sister asked me about this. She's like, oh my god. You have to edit this out, Mark.
I'm not editing this out.
I'm not gonna edit it.
It's so in. So the Alamo. And I know it's a Texas story, but it's such an American story. It's got all the trademarks of our country. Like men fighting for their ideas and their beliefs and their family. And it's so funny that the Texas, was became a part of our country because it's just, I'd say it's just such a quintessential story that goes in line with the rest of our country, manifest destiny and all that. And yeah, there's a lot of good stories and a lot of stories, bad stories. History is messy, and I think we've always said history is messy. And there's many different sides of history, the good, the bad. Did we steal land? Did we do this? Did we do that? The Native Americans, and there's, if you look at America, there's a lot of things that are unforgivable. I completely agree. If you look at the world as a context, there's many things that are unforgivable. There's a lot of human slaughter. There's a lot of moments that are just amazing. Humanity at its finest, humanity at its worst. But in terms of the Alamo, it's just one of those stories that if you grew up in our generation and older, I think it was a part of our history. Davy Crockett and the coonskin hat, and everybody knew about Daniel Boone and was it Daniel Boone? No, not Daniel Boone. Daniel Bowie and the Bowie knife.
So continue.
It is. Jeanette's
I
back.
hate you.
Jeanette's back.
I hate you so bad. But I am very happy that you still continue.
I am. It's funny. I mean, I'm thinking about like the Alamo, but like how many, like people did different lives, different paths, but how many of those lives culminated there at the Alamo? And the two that I could think of offhand is Davy Crockett and Daniel Bowie, the Bowie knife, right?
Holy crap! Yeah.
Travis was a man that was never successful, but he had his moment, and that was his moment. So, what's interesting about this last movie, The Alamo, that came out, and it came out in 2000 something. I'm looking for the year here.
Look it up.
2004. 2004.
Okay, we can't talk about it without giving people
2004.
Information
and with
about
Dennis Quaid and Billy Bob Thornton.
Dennis Quaid was in this too.
He was Sam Houston, and he did a really amazing job as Sam Houston. But what gets me is Billy Bob Thornton plays like a lot of gruff roles.
Yeah, he does.
And he plays Davy Crockett. And if there was ever a picture painted of who Davy Crockett was or he could be, I think Billy Bob Thornton did a good job, because in our minds growing up as kids, especially from our generation and older, mm-hmm. Davy Crockett was the all-American football player. Do you know what I mean? The Gipper, John Wayne. He had this image of, this Caucasian, clean-cut guy, always going around the world country, doing the right thing for the little man,
But I also see Billy Bob Thornton putting in that darkness.
Yes.
Because it's not always 100% good. It's going to be a little bit of struggle and darkness with that role.
And you think about the year was 1835.
Yeah.
You think about history. I mean, houses weren't immaculate. Dirt floors. People showered once a week, 2 weeks, whatever. So there was a certain gruffness about them. The way they talked was probably very nonchalant. They probably, like this John Wayne and the Disney Davy Crockett, where they talked very proper and all that, probably did not exist in that.
Oh, absolutely
Frontier,
not.
Texas, 1835.
It was going to be rough.
It was rough.
Very
and
rough.
I think that the 2004 Alamo really paints that picture of the dreariness, and it even kind of paints the picture of like the hopelessness of like, we're in a bad situation. We're not going to make it. And so it's that Alamo. So if you watch the John Wayne one, the idealistic one,
yeah,
it's really important because John Wayne really hammered, and John Wayne was really interested in the Alamo. The idealistic of the Texas Republic, I almost said testicle. But the Texas Republic.
You just did.
The Texas Republic.
You just did.
Freedom. What it means, and I think it lays a good foundation, because then when you go to the modern one, where they get even better at being historically accurate, you see the Alamo for really what it was. Like it's not a whole lot. Like when General Travis says, "I'm going to put you on the Tennesseans on the Palisades." And J.B. Crockett says, "Oh, you mean that stick fence?" That's all it was, a bunch of sticks. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And Travis says to him, and this is all, I mean, at this point it's all conjecture because they don't know what they really said. But in the movie, he says, well, unless you prefer a different assignment. And David, Billy Bob, playing David Crockett says, no, that's the one I wanted to do. So everybody in that movie, the main characters, which happen to be Travis, this guy named Elijah or something, Bowie, and Davy Crockett. I didn't know this until I started reading about it. The wife of Elijah Hutchinson, I believe his name was Elijah or Ekaniah Hutchinson or something. His wife was Mary Kate Hutchinson, I think. She's one of the few survivors of the Alamo. She had 2 kids with her. And where they all died in the movie is based on what she wrote.
Oh, wow.
She says she came out of the church and she recognized everybody right away. She said as she walked out, she saw Davy Crockett in front of the church away from the main fort. So where it shows him retreating in the movie. And eventually, like in the movie, he was captured and they killed him. But that's where she said she saw his body mutilated. She said she recognized Travis by his uniform on the wall, shot in the head. Well, in the movie, he's shot in the head on the wall. Mm-hmm. And in the other movies, he's not. Bowie, Daniel Bowie, right? Daniel Bowie? Is it Daniel Bowie or... Oh, and that guy. And the guy that played Bowie. I don't know why I'm getting his name wrong. The guy that played Bowie.
Who was the guy that played...
Let me see. Bonahum, Grimes, Colonel James, William Travis, Jason Patrick, I've never heard of him, plays James Bowie. And he did a good job because you figure Bowie was a rough and tough guy. He was stabbed. He was cut. He was stabbed through the lungs or something like that. And he was known for his big fight, his big knife and winning fights and all that. You figure a guy like that was a gruff guy. Yeah. In the movie, he comes across as being a really gruff guy. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. The picture is painted so well. Travis, Colonel Travis, William Travis, was never a successful man. He was always in debt. He didn't make it well in life. But then he was put in charge of the Alamo. And by the looks of him, he's not the old Travis that was a clean-cut guy. He was kind of a guy that was just kind of thrown together, but he believed in his cause. And so Bowie died in his bed. Well, they know he was sick. And so they know most likely he was in his bed when he died. So everywhere, the way these men died is all so important. And if you go down the Alamo, they talk about the barracks, mm-hmm. where the fighting was the worst. They dug a little trench in there to shoot out the windows of. Well, the Mexicans got into the barracks and the fighting was hand to hand. So they say if you go to the Alamo in San Antonio, where the barracks is, it's horribly haunted. But that's where it was like brutal hand to hand in a little corridor fighting. So think about you know what I mean? And there's I kept reading and trying to there's a number of first-hand accounts and second-hand accounts of what happened there. That the sentries fell asleep and they only found out that the Mexicans were attacking because somebody woke up and the Mexicans were already coming over the wall. So it was thick. It happened fast. And I just think the 2004 Alamo does a good job of painting what happened, and it gives you an idea of the hopelessness. But the fact that these guys are like, all right, we're going to do this.
That's awesome. I want to watch it now.
You have to watch it. The old John Wayne one, mm-hmm. Great one to watch. It's very idealistic. They come in, they're singing, they all look clean cut, classic Western 1960s Americana.
Like,
you know what I mean? It's a good message though. And talk about paranormal. So John Wayne, they said when my reading about it and reading about the hauntings of the Alamo, because I knew about the hauntings, they said John Wayne was obsessed with the Alamo, about the ideals, the men there and all that. And he was there at the site and he wanted to know everything about the Alamo. You talk about the security guards that oversee the Alamo, because they say they always see certain things. They see like a ghost of two kids playing. Two kids that were killed because they were mistaken for men when they went into the church. And then they talk about, like in the barracks, they talk about like there's different ghosts that they always see. And they in one of the books I was reading said after the death of John Wayne, they said they started seeing apparitions of John Wayne at the Alamo.
How weird.
Yeah.
That is very curious.
And they were very specific about that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very curious about that. That's funny. Oh my goodness. Is that what is going to happen if our obsession is going to take us to the place that...
Could you be so obsessed with something in life that in the next life that you're like almost like you're connected with a place that you're obsessed with? That people will see you there in the next life?
Probably.
It's curious.
Probably.
But this idea that these guys believed in this idea of Texas and freedom and all that, just like Washington and the Continental Army, they were a hodgepodge of colonials, frontiersmen. They had this idea of like freedom and a new nation. Thomas Jefferson, just like we're talking about, they had this idea. They were manifesting it.
Manifest destiny.
Manifest destiny.
And we're talking about history.
Right.
And also America was founded on manifest destiny too.
You talk about putting ideas out there, manifesting. America was an idea.
And did we not expand to the West because of manifest destiny?
Right.
So when you think about this, I mean, you can tie all of what we talked about into an idea about how our country came to be, because I think it's important to tie that in when we talked about history, because, I mean, we're thinking about all of these ideas, self-fulfilled prophecy, manifest destiny, about manifesting our ideas and our dreams, but it all kind of ties into everything we always talk about. So talking about history and about all these things, that how we've come to be. I think that
you're connected to the greater picture, the greater idea.
I honestly think that, and as individuals, we have to figure that out for ourselves.
So here's an idea.
Okay.
So I was talking to a friend of mine in Mexico. Me and Evan were talking about Mexico history. And I said, there's a couple of things I want to see. I told her this and that and this, and she goes, "Oh, that's cool that you want to get in touch with that." I go, "What? Didn't you ever get curious the fact that I know so much about Mexico?" And she goes, "Oh, it never occurred to me." I said, "I studied a lot of Mexican history, like a lot of Mexican history while I was in college. I took a lot of Mexican history classes, and and it really drew me in this history of Mexico. Cortez, all the way to the modern day." And she says, she made a statement, and it's funny now that we're talking about manifest destiny, the America. She says, I think that's great, but it's not valued in Mexico. In Mexico, we don't value the history of Mexico. There's no real, people are worried about different stuff. And I said, and I didn't tell her, but I was thinking this. And I said, that's a shame. I was thinking it's a shame. Because those that forget their history are doomed to repeat it. Your history grounds you. Like, no matter how crazy things are here in America and people talk trash about America, whatever, there's always something that draws us back to it. Like 9/11. 9/11, we were all brought back together in this, that we're Americans, common heritage, common history. You know what I mean? Nation of immigrants, people being kinder. And it's funny because if you think about Mexico, if history is not valued there, what's the connecting factor there? What brings everybody back together? Because Mexico has a beautiful history.
Oh.
They really do.
Yeah.
They defeated the Spanish when the Spanish was the greatest empire on the earth. The French came in, and they defeated the French when the French was the greatest empire on the earth. You know why they celebrate Cinco de Mayo?
Well, because it's their independent holiday.
No, it's not.
Is it not?
The 16th of September is the Independence Day of Mexico. The Cinco de Mayo is the first Battle of Puebla when the French came in and they defeated the French army.
16 de septiembre was the one where they've defeated.
No.
This is their independence.
Is el grito. That's the grito. That's el grito. That's the cry for independence in Mexico. I think his name was Hidalgo. He shot the rifle. It was I don't know if it was in Mexico City, but that was the cry for independence, Mexican independence. But the Cinco de Mayo is the defeat of the French at the first Battle of Puebla. Because there was 2 battles and they lost the second one. But they defeated the French, and the French was, at their time, the greatest army in the world. So there's a lot of beautiful and great history in Mexico. But because there's no emphasis on this history, there's no common denominator. Now you see the bloodshed going on there. Every man for themselves. This year is the bloodiest year in Mexico. Although last year was the bloodiest year in Mexico in 10 years. Yeah. And this year surpassing last year. So when you don't have that common thread, that common idea that you're manifesting, that we are a great people that will come together and get through this, what happens? If you don't come together, you stand together, divided, or fall. Together we stand, divided we fall. Mm-hmm. You have all these different people, cartels, people that work for the cartels for like $5 a day to do these hit crimes and stuff.
But at the same time, though, I mean, I get that, but this is also kind of maybe. Are we walking away from what we're supposed to be?
Well, yes and no.
Does it tie in together? I kind of almost feel like I
think it shows. I think if you look at it, it shows what could happen when you don't have that thought process.
But I also like the idea of talking about that because I like that. I mean, it's because being so close to the border.
Yeah.
And just kind of.
How close are we to the border?
Oh my goodness! So let's talk about an hour.
45 minutes.
45 minutes.
Throw a rock.
Without traffic. Honestly, right. Because mileage-wise, we're about 45 minutes from one.
There's still places where you could just walk across. I'm in Mexico, the United States. I'm in Mexico, United States. Hola, hello.
And it's so sad, but it's kind of... It's true that you're telling this. That's so sad that...
Right.
Yeah, that Mexican history is being lost upon its own
So
people.
You think about, we're talking about the United States, how we manifested the greatness of the United States. Manifestation, manifest destiny. This idea. The greatest export of the United States is our ideology that toppled all the crowns of Europe. We didn't go with guns blazing and topple the monarchy in England and monarchy in France and all that. It was our ideas of freedom that brought down the monarchies. So we have this history in the United States that bring us together, that the American dream. Everybody comes for a great American dream, and it's in their head, and they talk about manifestation. We're here to do better for ourselves.
Well, I mean, that's
the American dream.
That's what the American dream is about.
And we're talking about manifesting stuff and words having power. When you say we're here to live the American dream and we're going to make something of ourselves, and how many people do? Do you know what I mean? And they do it and they put their kids to school. And then you go to a country where the history is being lost. There's the common denominator's not there. There's no manifestation that's coming out from that common heritage.
I mean, I think honestly, I don't even want to go into
It's a whole different can of worms.
It's like a different can of worms. When you're talking about Mexico and its government, and you're talking about what a lot of people fail to realize is that here in the United States you have a free education. In Mexico, you do not.
It's only for so many years.
It is, and honestly, it's not even all of your elementary school. So when you're talking about Mexico losing its history, you're talking about because the people in Mexico are not given free education, and people in Mexico who have money, they can send their kids.
Where's the outcry from the people wanting better? And the United States, during the 60s and 70s, during the civil rights movement, it wasn't the politicians, it wasn't the wealthy, it was the people that were struggling, that wanted better for their families. I have a dream for my people, I have a dream for my kids, I have a dream for my family. And when they saw that they weren't being treated equal, it was the people that came together that marched against the government and said, you will give us equal opportunity. And if that means teaching schools in Vietnamese, in Spanish, in Chinese, you're going to do that. So all of our children have the same opportunities as all the cultures in the United States. You do that in Mexico. What happened during the Mexican Olympics? The students had a democratic rising because they wanted more rights and freedoms in Mexico. And the Mexican government, they marched the military in Mexico City, and they crushed the student rising.
But that also right there shows you exactly where the government is at with Mexico.
Right.
I mean, this is a different. I mean, I don't think you can compare yourself to the Mexico and the United States. This is completely different. This is where
it is, but it still comes down to the people.
I understand, but it's going to be a bloodshed. And
it is going to be a bloodshed.
It is going to have to be their own. It's going to be their own revolution.
I mean, think about the United States. There was bloodshed here.
It's gonna. Yeah, I get it. But this is going to have to come from the people of Mexico, and it's going to take someone to make them realize that they can have better. But it's what it's going to take.
It's going to take somebody to do it. But
it's going to take an uprising.
You think about it, though. We went through that.
I get it, and yeah.
And just because it happened 150 years ago,
not to say it can't happen in the next 100 years.
It could happen, and it'll be horrible.
It could, and it's going to be a lot of people dying.
But we forget the United States went through that.
Oh yes, no, I don't forget. Because honestly, I mean, come on, the North and South. You're talking about right. Yeah, you're talking about the Confederates and the Yankees.
Right.
I mean, its own country. When you have right now, Afghanistan is going through that right now,
and it's not done going through it.
And it's still going through it.
Right.
Every country has to go through it, and people. You're right. People have to stand united.
But people are afraid. People have fears. They think about family, children.
It's women, children. Families being lost. It's everything.
I think you can look for the parallels, but it comes down to those hopes and dreams and aspirations, and not just keeping it in here, but putting it in here and making it happen.
A lot of people, unfortunately, it's kind of like. The country is going to have to be at the bottom of the barrel for people to realize they're going to have to reach rock bottom. Rock bottom is what I'm trying to say.
I think they're almost there.
When a country finally reaches their rock bottom and they've just taken shit upon shit, at what point, what do people have to lose?
When are they done?
What do you have to lose when it's already you're already in a shit Sunday?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, come on. At what point, shit Sunday? You're in a shit Sunday. So can
I get a cherry on top of that?
So at what point do you have anything to lose?
Right. No, you're 100% right.
You have to hit rock bottom.
Oh, wow.
I know.
Dude, it's late.
I know. We've been partying a lot. And thank you. I know. Yeah. So I think that at this point, I think that we've talked about manifest destiny, self-fulfilled prophecy.
I think
we talked about
there's
history.
A lot of commonalities of what we talked about today.
I think for sure.
I think,
for real.
There's hopes, wishes, and dreams. Mm-hmm. But again, you have to visualize stuff in your mind. And you have to see it happening, and you have to put the words out there. You have to put the good words out there. You have to put the intentions. You got to be grateful. And then you have to do the legwork.
Absolutely. And you have to find what it is that is important to you in order for you to do that. What is important
to you?
What's important to me?
What's important to you?
Not being an energy vampire. That's what's important to me.
Don't be a vampire, Jeanette.
It's a terrible feeling, and it's not a good way of being. It's not a good way. Because that's how you set the tone for your day.
You know what?
If you can set your tone with good intention and a positive mindset, I promise your day will be way better.
I sometimes I talk about this with my friends, and sometimes my friends think I'm crazy.
Who cares? Whatever.
But for me, it's all about the dream. You know what I mean? And I never lose faith in the dream, no matter what it takes.
I like it.
Remember what I said last time? No matter what's going on, I believe in the good of man.
Yes, you did. And I remember you saying that.
I believe in the good of man. And I still think it ties in. You know, good people have good dreams and they focus in on it. They put the work in and they make it happen. And it doesn't matter. We still live in the greatest country on earth. And if you have a dream and you're able to think about it, focus on it, and put the effort into it, you can make it happen. You know?
I like it.
I like it too.
I like it. Well, I think that we've partied for a long time, friends.
Yeah, good tequila tonight. Dude, that vodka was on point.
Yes, it really was.
Wow.
We made some good selections tonight, man.
I'm going to stock up on some of that Stoli cucumber.
That was
It smells delicious. That reposado Corralejo is good.
Ooh, pair it up with that zero sugar. That's
zero
awesome.
Sugar. You're going keto friendly on whatever it is that you're making there.
I have no idea, but honestly, it's just like it's so refreshing, so good.
Ugh, so girly, you disgust me.
I know, but I had fun though. It was fun tonight.
It was a good night.
Yeah,
it was a good night.
It was definitely fun. Next time, or not next time, but at some point, we're gonna have to circle back with some of the stuff we said tonight.
Yeah,
for sure.
We're going to have to do a paranormal night one night. We have to plan it out. We're going to do a paranormal night. We'll let everybody know when that's going to be.
I like it.
We got to get a camera and go remote because I think that's what we're missing. So we need to go remote. And we'll...
This is why we maybe need to pay our friend.
We need a camera. We need like a high-def camera so we can go remote. And because there's some scary places we can go to.
Are we going to do GoPro or just
we can get a camera. We'll do it like in 3-4 weeks. We'll get a camera and we'll go do it.
Okay.
Yeah, it'll be exciting.
It'll be fun, guys.
It'll be fun. I'm excited already.
All right. Well, cheers, friend.
Cheers, dude.
Empty drinks.
That's right.
Good fun. Good times.
It was fun.
It was really fun.
All right.
I dig it.
Cool. You have a good night.
Until next time, man.
Later, home slice.
All right.
Dun, 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 dun. I don't know. I always have
Crickets.
exit music. No, I do that.